What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going, Healthy Warrior Shane?
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Fella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
All right, guys, welcome. Pull up a stool, pour a drink, and join us with Wrestling on the Rocks. That's right, you've made it for episode 1. This is Wrestling on the Rocks, where every show is our first show. We cannot figure it out. Guys, I am at Ref Marsh. We're happy to have you here. We have a guest and a solid. That's what I'm going to call Klump. Klump, introduce yourself.
Howdy there. My name's Crybaby Klump on Twitter, or just Klump here. I'm on my stool. I only need the edge, if you will. I have a stool sample.
All right, he's got a small one too. It's the sampler size.
Yeah.
Size. But we do have
I have
resident
stool
guest.
charcuterie. Stool charcuterie award.
I don't like where any of this is going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we do have back for our Thursday night chaser. That's right. We need a drink to wash down the flavor in our mouths after every Wednesday night's worth of wrestling. And with us, as per usual, Amanda, go ahead and say hey.
Hey guys, it's Miss Amanda Jane on Twitter and Instagram, and happy to be back again. So I guess I'm not the solid, so I'm the guest. Okay.
Yeah, take it for what you will. You know,
Oh, okay. I don't know. I was just trying to figure it out, but
Yeah.
it's like a complex, word problem, and I hated those.
Oh, it's not. Or
It's smarter than me
anything-
because I was stuck in stool sample still.
We're anything but
Hey,
complex.
that was better material.
1 + 1 equals a number 2 in some cases.
Ah!
We got chatter. Go ahead and read it, because I don't have my thing up.
I was just going to say hi, Leah Moonlight. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Leah Moonlight coming through. What's up? Cheers.
Yo.
Cheers. Anybody who's listening on podcast form, we do this live on twitch.tv/Wrestling on the Rocks, where you can come in, derail the show, join the chat, and be having a good time with us, having a drink on our first episode every time. Episode 1. Every episode.
Yeah.
Klump, what's in your drink? What's in your glass? What drink is in your glass? What are you drinking?
Coffee. Coffee. Coffee.
Oh, this is empty. I'm looking through my stuff. It's all empty. We got to refill. So you're having coffee. Is it mostly creamer? Is it actually coffee? What do you got?
It's got it's coffee with ice because it's in a hydro flask, so it's too hot and my mouth hurts. So I put ice, and then it's got a little bit of oat milk
Hell yeah, dude.
from
Oat milk.
oat titties.
Yeah. I've milked an oat.
Oaters.
And also, hello, Koro. And just in time. Hey, everyone.
Yeah, everyone's coming through. Justin, Kuro, Leah, everyone's saying what's up. Kuro saying AEW is dead. Only Impact Dynamite exists. Dude, I don't have a lot of arguments there. Amanda, what's in your glass? What are you drinking? We lost Amanda?
Amanda,
No,
we
you
cannot
didn't. I
hear
was
you.
on mute.
Oh, there you go.
There we
So
go.
sorry to disappoint everybody. There is no Sonic slushy today. So,
Ooh.
but I just have regular Coke, and you might see all of a sudden a spoon. I actually have chicken and wild rice soup. It's kind of a drink, liquid.
Okay, so I guess we're the only ones actually drinking.
It is what it is.
Which is fine. Totally
It's
fine.
just-
It's not about what you're drinking. It's about who you're drinking with. And she came to have a drink with us. And tonight, her
When you-
drink is chicken and rice.
When you think about it, a bisque soup is just a savory smoothie.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
That made me unhappy to say.
Yeah.
Carol
it is
says,
true.
I made
Says I'm
myself sad.
also-
Mm.
Let's see. Kuro is extremely drunk already. I like it. I like his style. Justin said cheers, so I think that means he's pretty close to drunk. Let's see. I don't have news this week before. I don't think I. Well, I mean, I guess I have like one thing we could mention briefly up top. But Klump, you said you had a few things in the news that you wanted to hit.
Yeah, first, wanted to throw out at the top of it a Tears in Our Beers tip of the glass to a personal friend of mine and kind of family member. It was my wrestling buddy. His name's Gordon. He was recently diagnosed with cancer, and unfortunately, doesn't look like he's going to kick out of it. But we wish him the best. He's an amazing guy, great person to watch wrestling with, and we wish him the best and everything going forward, and to his family too. So
Yeah, for sure.
Tip
And
the
a
glass
painless
to that.
transition.
exactly.
Cheers. We'll see you down the road.
And yeah, thank you guys for letting me say that. I
Yeah,
do
for
have
sure,
a little
for
bit
sure.
of news as well.
Let's say real high, real quick to M Brown in the chat. I believe that is M Brown, as is famous from the bottom of my glass, quite literally. As the show goes on, you see more and more of my Matt Brown. So
He was also in Royal Rumble 2 years ago. If you see a little
yeah,
little
star,
sign.
the star of the 2019 Royal Rumble, Matt Brown, coming through. Always good to see him. Klump, go ahead. What do you have news-wise?
Well, this week, yesterday we had Mark the Undertaker Calloway on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, that was big news.
That was big news. I haven't heard it yet. Have you listened to it?
I have not listened to it. I don't usually listen to Joe Rogan stuff.
Same. I need to. I'm not. I struggle with him, but I'll listen to it because the Undertaker is such an important part of my fandom of wrestling.
And I think what's interesting about the idea of it is Joe Rogan is not a wrestling fan at all. So for him to have a 3-hour chat with Undertaker, that sounds fascinating just on surface level alone.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. If it's just 3 hours of Undertaker telling stories, I'll be happy. That's good to me. And then
I think there's a few. I think from what I've seen, there's a few topics. I don't know. Did you see any of the topics that were touched ground on?
No, I did see somebody tweeted out that he talked a bit about the difference between modern wrestling culture and older wrestling culture, and there's a thought that he might have created some heat there with younger talent. I don't know. Before I give anything to that, I'm going to listen to it and see.
For sure. I think the overall feeling of it to me was, and we won't dig in deep till we've all heard it. From the quote that I read versus what I've seen people respond to, my impression of what he said was that it's a different type of person who's in the wrestling business now. That when he joined it, it was really rough and gritty and really almost stereotypical man's man kind of thing where, I mean, how many times we've heard Bruce Pritchard describe wrestlers as being double tough sons of bitches? You know what I mean? And I mean, Ron Simmons was described as being unfuckwithable because he was just such a badass. People talking about Haku might just actually rip out someone's eyes if they didn't play along. You know what I mean? You don't hear about, just from surface level alone, you don't hear stories about anyone being all that tough nowadays. And I think there's a certain aspect for him where it's, I think, visually apparent to him that when you see a Stan Hansen, you go, oh, fuck that, dude. I'm not fucking with Stan Hansen. Or you see a Bruiser Brody, you're just like, fuck that. But then when you look at you just look at the general, I'll hit up every promotion. I'll say if you look at Ricochet, if you look at even AJ, you look at Darby Allin, Ricky Starks, you don't see guys who you go, oh, I wouldn't fuck with them in a bar. You see guys where you go, yeah, I might. You know what I mean? Even AJ, who I think is actually probably a tough son of a bitch, he doesn't come off that way. He doesn't look that way. And so I think that was kind of the feeling. I think people were really upset about that, being like, oh, you wish that everyone was doing coke and steroids. And I was like, I don't think he said it exactly like that.
Yeah, no.
Because one of the examples he said was he used to go into a locker room and people literally had guns and knives in their bags, and now you walk into a locker room and they're playing Xbox. And you're like, well, yeah.
Yeah, but
there's a
you might be
difference.
playing an Xbox game with guns and knives, like Call of Duty.
Ooh,
and
Call of Duty.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah, I know a group of them who all play Call of Duty.
Oh, My dream come true. I would love to do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
you and I should talk because
Yeah,
I've been
Klump.
invited, but I don't have I need a new system.
I'm down.
There you go. There you go.
Oh,
Producer had something she wanted to say here real quick.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking. It reminds me of when I was in the military as an aircraft mechanic. When I went in, the shop was very much like heavily like stereotypical masculine, mechanic. And then by the time I left, it had definitely changed, which is great because it was pretty. Everyone was pretty rough around the edges. So it was nice to see a lot of those changes. But I think training was also like really different too. So I don't know. I kind of see some similarities there.
Yeah, I could hear that. I mean, like I said, we haven't heard it all. Kuro is in the chat saying he tells stories about drugs, so it's worth a listen, sounds like. But on surface level, the couple sentences that I'd seen pulled out and talked about, that was kind of the impression I got was him talking about the locker room used to be filled with, like, motherfuckers, dude. And now it's just filled with a bunch of people who like to be wrestlers. And I don't think that there's inherently something wrong with that surface level at all. But I do think that what that does translate to on TV as different. You know what I mean? I do think that translates to you get a really nice, clean version of wrestling. You get you do end up seeing a lot more things that appear choreographed or well thought out versus before it was calling it in the ring and being gritty enough to know that you guys will figure it out, because if it starts to go awry, you'll just start beating each other up because fuck it. Maybe that's just what we do tonight. You know what I mean? And so I think that, and then you see things even nowadays where someone like clearly misses, quote, a spot. Because I don't like to do a whole bunch of like wrestling jargon like we're insiders. We're not. We're just drunks who like to yell about wrestling. Well, I'm the drunk who likes to yell about wrestling, hanging out with my buddies who don't drink and just like to look at me watch wrestling while I get drunk.
we're witnesses to the problem.
Witnesses. He's like, I transcribe a lot of it.
Yeah, we're gathering things for an inevitable intervention. That will be episode 3.
Yeah. Episode 2 is going to be the intervention that changes the whole show.
You're never allowed back in the house.
Yeah. He's like, I'm compiling it. It's being filed. Don't worry. But yeah, we're just a bunch of goofy wrestling fans who like to talk about wrestling and hang out a couple times a week. Just talk about it. So I do think that there's that whole like, oh, someone missed a spot, and then you see them try to get back to that spot. Where before, when you watch old things and there was like a mess up or a botch, someone would just start punching someone else because it was like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also think that this day and age, because of social media, a lot of these guys, just think of if they had social media back in the day, just all of the hearing stories about all the drug use and drunken nights and things like that. It was a totally different era. It's like now everyone's so afraid because of like Speak Out and all of these other things that a lot of guys are pretty good eggs, and they the ones who aren't and whatever, but for the most part, yeah, everyone's pretty decent people.
And I think what we're seeing is an uprising of the fans into the industry, right? Like, and maybe uprising is not the most appropriate. Infiltration,
treason,
maybe, a treasonous insurrection of fans, I would say, maybe. No, but like the guys now who are on top, Seth Rollins, Bailey, Dominic. I don't know if he's on top, but I'm saying like you get a lot of these guys who they're around our age. They're around the age of growing up watching wrestling and saying, I want to do that and be that, when it was a big spectacle of a thing. And then growing up in the age of video games, where when guys like Undertaker and his generation came in, there were not video games for them to even pretend to emulate at home. They literally, to get into the business, you had to get smartened up into the business, which usually involved you getting your ass kicked for 3 months until they said, okay, we'll smarten you up now. You know what I mean? Like, it was a different everything. So I think it does translate to a different product. I do. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't think that it's inherently bad to be healthier or friendlier or more video game friendly.
To me, I think it is an inherent positive. We mentioned, things like speaking out and the other inherent aspects of people being safer, being fans, being friendlier. The big thing that I think is a positive is it means we'll probably see people with longer careers. If we have a locker room of people who, it's okay for people to take somas like crazy, or steroids. We have a locker room of people that are are working to shorten their lives.
Yeah.
And with what we're doing now, yeah, it may be different, but I think it's good, honestly.
I think it's
It
inherently
does.
good
I
for
don't
the
see a
people.
negative. Yes.
As far as the product goes, I'm saying I don't know if I can consider that a good or bad product-wise, what we see on the other side. For the people involved, for the people who are our favorites, absolutely, it seems to me like a much better thing. Because, I mean, AJ Styles is currently older. Most of the roster is currently older than Jake Roberts was when he came back and was the old man. You know what I mean?
Shit.
Like, when he did the old man drunk gimmick, he was younger than most of the stars now. He was younger than Shinsuke, than AJ, younger than Seth Rollins and Roman. Like, think about that for just a second. If that was our view of wrestlers at that age, that they were just torn down and their bodies beat to shit, and we're looking at guys where we're like, yo, easily 5-10 more years of this guy. You know what I mean? So I do think it's inherently good for the people. As far as the product goes, I could definitely understand the argument of one of the things that brings people away from it is that it has a lot less realistic believability or grittiness to it, that it feels a lot less often like simulated combat and a lot more often like
Redneck
a
opera.
TV show or whatever, So that's what I mean.
He's playing a dead man. He's a dead man.
Oh yeah, he's dead inside.
Who's alive, and it's like, come on, dude. But honestly, like, I think that now, because I think that median age now is like between like 31 and 42, maybe.
Yeah.
Of wrestlers right now, and and the ones I've noticed that who are going to have the shorter careers, it's all those guys that do all the flippy stuff. I mean, because if you look at like Matt Sydal right now, like, he's no way where he was like when he was with WWE. Totally different. I mean, he's changed his style. Ospreay had to do it. The ones that are Ricochet, well, he's weird. He's just a weird anomaly, but
he's also changed too. He doesn't do that 7,000.
He has.
Yeah.
The only one who still does it is Guevara, and that's when you look at the back of his head, that's all the injuries and stuff. CTE. I mean, that's where he's gonna get it. And
he smashed his head really good this week too.
When you're one CTE or two of them away from like not being able to do this kind of stuff anymore, and you're so young, that's kind of sad.
100%. Sure. I do think there's a reality there. I mean, look at what's his name, Ridge Holland, catching Oni Lorcan, who's half his weight, in a simple crossbody to the outside, snaps the guy's leg in half. Like, fuck, it does not take much.
Both?
Yeah. Both his legs just crumbled. They exploded. It was insanity.
Let's
see.
I always go back to whenever we mentioned that, you read to me the injury list. I'm like, wait, that's both legs. Because it was like right, left, oh no.
Yeah. It was just like his legs just exploded into fire. It was insane. Real quick, just going to give a quick shout out in the chat. Just in time, hitting us with some subscribes and handing some out as gifts. Guys, if you guys want to subscribe and play along in the chat, you can do it for free through Amazon Prime. If you go to WrestlingOnTheRocks.com and click join the chat, we'll give you a little tutorial in there on how you can link your Amazon Prime to Twitch to make a Twitch Prime account, which gives you one free sub. And for me, that's a free drink. Let's see. Kuro does say he specifically, Undertaker, that is, specifically notes that he couldn't get as jacked as some of the new guys when he was even on steroids and doesn't know how they do it. And I think that that's definitely true. I'm not one of the believers that Hammerstone, Brian Cage, or John Cena were ever on steroids. I do feel that they are not, based off conversations and interviews that I've seen and heard and experienced. I have talked to Hammerstone before. So I don't believe it, but I don't know it. So I don't know that I can speak on behalf as like an expert on anything, but yeah, I agree to that too. I mean, even I think X-Pac and Jericho have both stated that there was a time that they were on steroids too, and they were never as big as some of these guys. Sometimes you just did it to stay lean. You know, there's twofold to steroids. You don't just take it and blow up. So.
And also, now a lot of the technology like cryotherapy and then cupping and all of like the acupuncture and some of those weird chiropractic things with like really huge hammers and things that look like bolts or whatever. I mean, they didn't have all of that back then.
That's true.
Acupuncture probably, but these guys are taking better care of their bodies than they were before. And I mean, if you've ever seen like Brian Cage at like a convention, the dude brings in a suitcase that's full of just food, like all of his meal prep, everything is in there. And he's like, that's just for the first day. And you're like, what the hell? Like, God, this guy, it's like he's constantly eating. So I'm thinking, I mean, some of these guys are really legit. I mean, there's one person I had heard that was on steroids, and I'm like, why? It just didn't make sense. And they're a smaller
It's not
person,
working.
So
it's not working at all.
Yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, maybe we'll dig a little deeper.
No.
We'll dig a little deeper once we've heard the interview. But yeah, surface level, it's kind of what I saw that as. I do think that the internet has a way of parsing out what they like to super react and latch on to things. I'm not trying to defend anybody. I'm just interpreting the thing that I saw. Like we said, we'll take a listen to it. Klump, was there anything else that you saw news-wise outside of Undertaker being on Rogan? Which by itself, in and of itself as a headline is cool. Just that Undertaker was on the show.
I mean, it's cool seeing him getting out. Also, Dark Side of the Ring not only officially announced they will have a season 3, they announced their topics.
Oh, I didn't see the topics. Go ahead.
Yes, so they're gonna do Flying Brian Pillman, FMW, XPW, Nick Gage, the story of Collision in Korea, the famous WCW NJPW pay-per-view in North Korea that was the largest wrestling event ever attended.
Collusion in Korea.
Oh yeah. The story of the Smith family, which famously includes Jake the Snake Roberts and his father.
Yeah.
And then Ion Croturo, who is a journeyman wrestler who performed for the WWF and WCW, and also kind of had after that became more famous for his connections to organized crime in biker gangs. He was linked to several assaults, drug trafficking, as well as murder.
See, and that ties exactly into what Undertaker said, dude. Everyone nowadays a pussy. I'm kidding.
We need more murderers. And
obviously, Undertaker doesn't know who Nick Gage is.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's like, wait a second.
Right there. I mean, that.
Yeah.
I don't wanna
that's cool. I'm excited to see those.
I like less drama.
Yeah. So that's cool. I don't have anything to say about that otherwise, and it is a little curious that they're hitting Nick Gage while he's still like actively wrestling, is he not?
I mean, it could be interesting. I'm curious to see. I love Dark Side of the Ring just because I love the documentary. Any documentary about wrestling is awesome.
Mm.
I am curious to see how this goes because last season I liked it, but there was parts of it that I felt were. Boy, Chris Jericho was in a lot of them, and I got really tired of it.
Yeah, it really felt like a Chris Jericho production. Just in time in the chat does say an episode about Canyon was also announced. I think that's all cool. I don't think I have a lot to say about that other than I'm glad that you said it, and I think that any of our listeners could tell us what they think when they see it as well.
I think Nick Gage was used because of his like uprise in the last year and a half or so, and his gaining in popularity as a JCW, and his fans because they're like insane. Shout out to the MDK people. Yeah. You have to.
Shout out.
But I think that's probably why, and also because of his story. I mean, going to prison. I mean, someone had asked me, they go, "Is that real?" I go, yeah. And if you were to ask him, I bet you he'd probably beat the shit out of you. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's real. So I'm interested to see his story. Yeah. And things like that. So.
Has either of you seen the "You Can't Kill David Arquette" thing?
I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't seen the whole thing yet.
I've not been able to locate the full thing, and I don't think maybe I've tried hard enough, but I do want to see it, and I wonder if there's stuff in there that is part of the reason why Dark Side of the Ring was also going to cover the other side, as it were, you know. Anything else, Klump, news-wise?
No, that was all I had.
Cool. I do want to say real quick, and then we'll get into AEW, I think, first. We're doing a watch-along for Royal Rumble. It's going to be me, Kevin Bishop from TW Takes Podcast, Terrible Wrestling Takes Podcast. It's going to be on their pod, so go ahead and give them a little follow as well. TW Takes Podcast, twitch.tv/ prior to that. And we're going to be giving away 2 of our shirts, and he will be giving away a Wrestle Pins. So come on through. If you guys want to be part of this raffle to get the giveaways, costs nothing. You just have to message us either at WOTR The Show, at Ref Marsh, at Kevlar on the Rocks. Don't bother reaching out to Klump. He doesn't know how to check his DMs, and he'll get lost. At TW Takes Podcast. Go to even our Facebook, any of our socials. Make a comment on an Instagram post. Whatever it takes to say you want to be in the Royal Rumble raffle. We're only taking the first 30, and we're already more than half full. So get in so you can get the T-shirt. Let's see. Where's that going to be again? Oh, twitch.tv/ TW Takes Podcast is where the watch along will be. And, Kuro, if you want to be in the raffle, just let us know. We'll add you in.
Oh, I found where you can watch You Cannot Kill David Arquette.
Where?
Hulu.
It's on
Really?
Hulu?
Yeah, it's on Hulu. I just looked it up. It's on Hulu.
Goddamned.
Okay.
Dude,
All right,
Hulu's
well,
better than so many. Dude, I went out of my way to get that HBO Max to watch What About Bob because the advertisement for What About Bob said it was on HBO Max, and it wasn't on HBO Max. It was on Hulu the whole time.
You went out of your way. You asked me for the password.
I asked you for your password, dude. Do you think I was easy for me? You think it was easy for me to come groveling to you for password to your HBO Max?
Yeah, but how much do you like Doom Patrol?
So good, dude. It's so good.
Fuck
It's one of
yeah.
our favorites now. Doom Patrol's incredible. Let's see.
We should
And
do a
TW
Doom
Takes,
Patrol
if you
podcast.
are in the chat, Takes has added the link to his podcast channel on Twitch. He doesn't go live a lot, but when he does, it's usually a watch along, so it's pretty cool to jump in there. And he will be doing a watch along for Royal Rumble, and we're going to be in there for that. Guys, I think, are you ready to talk about Dynamite?
Yeah. Here's a quick question.
Go ahead.
So does Netflix still have Boone the Bounty Hunter?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I actually enjoyed Boone the Bounty Hunter. I'd like to see it again. I only saw it once, but I'd like to see it again. It was very enjoyable.
I can look it up if you'd like.
I'm just curious. Sorry.
Is that
Since we're
the
talking
Hulu?
about it.
It's on Tubi. You can watch it on Tubi.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have Tubi. Okay.
Ooh, it's got Jonathan
Woo.
Sorbo in it. Or no, Kevin Sorbo.
You guys are awful.
It actually is really good. Props to Johnny. Insert your name.
I'm sure it's great. Let's get into AEW, guys. AEW is why I drink.
Yeah, that was a hard week.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be I think we're going to have to go through this a different way than we typically do. I don't think we're going to be able to do segment by segment kind of a deal.
No.
To be quite honest, I mean, let's talk about it in general, and even in generalities to begin with, and then we're going to get to specifically. I know that Amanda has a short list of things that she thought were net positives in AEW Dynamite. This episode of Dynamite to me felt really hard to watch and to get through. It was overwhelmingly underwhelming to me. And I reached out to a few people I know who are huge AEW fans to ask, like, is it just me? Have I become stale to something? Because I did not find myself enjoying it as much as I usually do. As much as I come on here week after week and poke fun and make fun of it and give it shit, I continue to watch it for the most part because I still find chunks of it enjoyable. But there's usually something I can poke fun at too, which is, always fun. This was tough. This was a really tough one as far as, like, flat out enjoyability. Klump, we'll start with you. What did you think of this Dynamite overall in comparison to other Dynamites?
There was, like, I try to think of positives because I also don't want to be like just shitting on everything. Honestly, John Moxley's promo.
Which also got a little bit runaway. I mean, there was a lot of nonsensical stuff that was even good, and we'll get to that. But overall, I mean, Justin in the chat says that he thought it was incredibly lackluster. Did you feel like this felt like another Dynamite, a typical Dynamite, or a lesser than Dynamite, or a better Dynamite?
Oh yeah, sorry, like my audio cut out clear. But no, it just felt kind of needless. Like a lot, there's a lot of negatives. Like if we wanted to just dunk on negatives, yeah, and also just confusing. Like I didn't get the Inner Circle triple threat tag team match. Like even if I watched like last week to build it up, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like you never had the Four Horsemen say, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have Rick and Arn versus Tully and number 4.
Yeah, I mean, even JR when he was trying to announce the Inner Circle match, he said it was happening. Goes, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like he couldn't even make sense of it. Amanda, overall, how did you feel about this Dynamite?
It was very, very hard to watch. I nodded off, I think, twice. And it was very weird to me. And weird in the sense that it seems like everybody was off because of the amount of little botches or slip-ups or things that weren't normally as, I guess, very polished, because like the Moxley promo that went on a little bit too, and I'm like, okay. And just there's a lot of things about it that were kind of weird. I mean, I know that they had the last couple weeks off. I don't know because of COVID if they're doing a modified schedule now, but I think they are, where they're going to be filming like 2 of them at a time, and then 2 of the internet wrestling that you don't like. So I'm trying to be positive, but let me get my positives out there before I go negative, because I can go really negative.
Well, let's just do this. I don't think we want to dive into the negatives. I was just trying to get like an overall.
No, not really dive into it, but things that were annoying.
There was definitely some things that probably worth talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just trying to get an overall feel for how you guys felt about it, just because like, and here's the funny thing is me just asking you guys, how did you feel about the show? Neither one of you guys could just say, because that's how bad I think it came out this week, which is unusual for them to be so bad that when I ask you how was the show, your response is, how do I word this? You know what I mean? Like, that's a bad sign to begin with. Justin does say in the chat that he legit didn't even finish watching it because that's how bad it was to him. And Justin, if I'm not completely out of line, I believe that his Twitter is actively dunking on WWE from regularly. So I think that dude typically likes AEW. From what I've seen, I don't remember all of it. He probably is pretty fair. But Amanda, go ahead. Let's get into your list of things that were overall positive about this show.
Okay. The first one I think that was a really good positive is I really love the fact that they're really keeping the spirit of Brody Lee alive. It was really cute to have his son's birthday. That kid's going to be a champ one day. I mean, the whole line at the end, my birthday was 3 days ago, and the whole thing. I loved it. It was great. It was very endearing. And I hope that they continue to do things every once in a while, especially if it's something that brings out positive memories about Brody Lee.
Yeah, I liked that. I did wonder why it was on, because here's the other thing is other people got involved and it was weird. Like Luther's whole promo thing was really weird. The thing with Serpentico was weird. The whole match revolving around that cake and Luther selling it like a total fucking cartoon was weird. It was just, it was weird to me because I had conflicting emotions where I was like, this is a very nice thing they're doing for Brody Lee's son. And I like that they're doing stuff like that for Brody Lee's son. But part of me was also like, couldn't have this been done after recording the show? Or like, did this all have to be, or could this been a pre-recorded and they show clips of it on the national show? Like, the whole thing in its entirety was like really dragging on, and I just don't know that it made for compelling TV. It made for a really weird feel to a beginning. But again, I do like you said, that they're keeping Brody's memory alive. I like that they're incorporating the kid. He seems to be having a good time. Like I said before, as much as I had a lot of reservations about that in the beginning, I've seen, I think, enough backstage things from everybody to make me feel a little bit better about that. But yeah, it felt like a really rocky start where it's all like, oh, I think it'd have been cool if they were all like, look what we did for him earlier. And they showed a few clips and highlighted a few spots in the match and made it into like a minute long thing instead of this literally 15-minute long segment about a kid's birthday. It was weird. Am I way off on that? Am I being a dick?
No. I think the reason why it was done, because obviously just besides Brody Lee, and they want to kind of cash in on that. But Tony's the only one who has the book. Is that correct?
Yeah.
There's no one else that's writing the show.
Yeah.
From what Tony has said and some of the other guys is, yeah, a lot of the talent has extensive creative input, but Tony has final say on everything.
I think that this evening, to sum it up, is I think they need to get some control. Just because it just was very sloppy, just everything, except for only one thing, because I can't find anything wrong with it. But yeah, I was just curious about that, because yeah, his birthday was a little, like, why are they doing it? But I get it. Should have been on there? I don't know. But then you also have to think of, they don't push a lot of talent on Dynamite. It's always the same people.
Yep.
That's true too.
So
yeah, I just think that if I saw this clip on their Twitter, or them singing "Happy Birthday" on there, and then like 30 seconds of the match clipped up, and I saw that on if someone linked me that on Twitter, I'd be like, oh, this is really cool. That's really cool. They did that for the kid, and I probably would have shared it. Hey, look what they're doing for him. But to see it play out this long on this, I was like, I don't know. Klump, what do you think? Am I being a dick?
No, I don't think you're a dick. Honestly, I agree with both of you, and I think, is it sweet? Yeah. Does it need to be this much of a segment on the show? I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I think also watching it, I don't want to be cynical or shitty, but part of me almost falls in there and can't think anything but being cynical and shitty, in that, is this just a grab for attention? Because, and I don't want to think that. I don't believe that, but it makes me wonder, because it just seems so weird and out of place. I get and I understand that Brody Lee's son, Brody Jr., is a huge wrestling fan and wants to be in wrestling, and everything they've done I think is awesome. The idea of like, hey, if you want to do this, we'll give you a contract because of this, and just all of that I think is awesome. But there's a point when you do so much of it, it feels, and this isn't knocking Brody or Tony, this is just maybe me being cynical because I've seen it so much in my life, is it feels like when a business owner does something like this and they're excited because it's good press, it's we did all this fantastic stuff, donated to this charity. Well, really, what did we do? Or we're doing this and it's paying dividends on the press we're getting,
like when I don't even want to mention directly, so let me find an indirect example. Like when any company says, for every purchase of this thing, we'll donate a quarter to this cause.
Yes.
And you go, oh, you're a $1 billion company. Is there a reason why you wouldn't just donate $100 million to the cause and instead make me spend $5 on an item which you're going to give a quarter out to a different cause for? So you're telling me you want everybody in the nation to buy $5 worth of your product so you can give out a smaller donation than your company can even afford to begin with.
Yes.
I've seen that. I agree with you that I don't feel like in my heart, I don't feel like that's what Tony's doing, but I definitely understand. We've seen that happen a lot with a lot of companies before that sound like coming from a good place, but when you really scope out, go, but couldn't you have actually done a different thing more silently that would have been probably better?
It's true. Good.
I was going to say, one of the things that I was a charity thing, since we're talking about this, that AEW kind of, I don't know if it was AEW's thing or if it was Pro Wrestling Tees, but when they had the original shirt, AEW shirt with Culture City, and Brandy was having all the proceeds of the profits from the shirt go to Culture City, I thought that was awesome, and it was supposed to be a limited edition. Next thing you know, they're selling it now. And I was kind of off-put by that because I'm like, are you still donating money? Or now that it doesn't matter because they probably cut them a check, are you still donating? I mean, what's the deal with it?
Yeah.
And that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Kind of like, oh, okay. So.
Yeah, and I get it. I think, but I also kind of think that Bishop in the chat right here I think he puts it actually really well. I think what we're trying to say is we're like trying to not be cynical, even though we're clearly all cynical. I mean, it's just who we are. We've seen enough. We've been through the mud. Bishop does say, from what I get from listening to Tony, he thinks he's always doing right by the wrestlers. My problem is I'm not entertained by what he thinks is right by the wrestlers. He does said they did something dope for the kid. It just wasn't entertaining. And I think that's bottom line. I don't go to a lot of kids' birthday parties in general. I don't find them fun, even if it's at a place I like to be at. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't have kids. I barely go to my niece's birthdays. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just hang out and spend time with a kid than be all like, let's do a big thing where everyone's kind of like pointing and singing and no one's really actually connecting. Like, I'm more of a one-on-one type of a dude. So, I mean, maybe that's just part of it, is I just don't like kids' birthdays. And so this was just all like, oh, how cool they had it. How cool for him. I will skip the party. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go to weddings either. If you guys think I'm being mean to kids, I don't like adults either. I don't like love. I don't like children. None of that stuff. Don't go to weddings. Don't go to birthday parties, especially not kids' birthday parties. Klump, when's your birthday? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't do birthdays.
Yeah, you're in luck.
But no, like I get that I agree with the sentiment there. Is it what you're trying to do there is sweet. I get that, but I don't know. It doesn't seem necessary. It seems like we could spend more time on other talent. We could announce this. This could have been an awesome tweet. Like, I've loved when they're like, yeah, we all went to Disney World. That's awesome because, you're spending time with them. But the other thing too is this: the longer you do this, when it ends, like, and because there's going to be a point. Yeah, and that's fucking weird, That's gonna be odd when you guys when it kind of peters out and stops, and that's not being mean, but I worry that that's what happens, and that's what we notice is like, hey, why did we suddenly stop having the kid in here?
Yeah, that's true too, and maybe part of it's just flat out this. Maybe the rest of the show wasn't so good that this was ultimately super forgivable to move on. You know what I mean? Maybe we've talked about it too long already because the whole show after this was not so good that it was like, yeah, it opened up with a goofy thing, but then it really picked up. It was like, no, it started off kind of weird in a kid's birthday party that I didn't find entertaining, and then it just got worse. It got worse than a kid's party.
The Hangman
Talk
thing
about Hangman.
was a little bizarre.
So bizarre.
Yeah, kind of proposal-ish thing. I was like, what is this? I mean, you could have done it on BTE. I'm like, I was like, what is this? Like, okay. I mean,
it felt like a BT skit, and I would have loved it on BT because I thought it was kind of funny when it like popped to this side. It's like, like that made me giggle. But when it's on national TV and then we go to the other bits, I'm like, okay.
No.
And then the joke drags on too long. Because there was a moment where I was like, oh, I get it. That's kind of funny. They were all prepared for it. But then it just kept going. And I was like, this is not funny at this point.
I thought someone was going to come out of the tunnel, to be quite honest, when he said no. But
People did. Like shirtless mariachi type dudes. They had like shirtless Chippendale dancers with Dark Order masks.
No, I meant Marty.
Oh, you thought like a bigger no?
When he said no, you know.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Dope.
I mean, that's who he's waiting for. I know it. In my heart, I know it. In my heart, I know it.
I feel it in all of my being.
In all my being. I know it. Yeah. Yes. You heard it here. So when he does,
we'll be journalists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that whole thing was weird, predictable, and not ultimately funny as far as like the Hangman Page stuff went. I don't find John Silver funny at all.
No.
Man, and then am I missing some segments in here? Was there something between this and Cody versus Pretty Peter?
Was it Sting?
Oh my God, it was Sting. Sting was right after this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, here's another positive. Okay.
Go ahead.
I think that
25 minutes in.
Yeah, but the setup for what's now going to be in Revolution, I guess it's this is going to be your cinematic match probably, was this promo. And then it's nice to know that they actually, the father-son thing, it was kind of touching to me. But it was weird because you're following all of this weirdness and then you're like, okay. I don't know if, I think it would have been better if Taz and company came out instead of filming it backstage. I think that would probably been a little bit more impactful. Made it funny. But I think that overall it was great because, you know, you've got people obviously on the mic who can talk.
Like Tony Schiavone?
Darby was limited, which it should be because I don't think I've ever really heard him cut a promo. I don't think that's his thing. I've only heard
he said, be careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. How generic wrestling cliche can he be?
I don't know.
He's got to be better than that.
I don't know.
They got, like, I mean, couldn't have been like, hey, say kind of like a be careful what you wish for type of a deal, but don't say that exactly because it sounds pretty trite and pretty cookie cutter wrestling promo. And he goes, gotcha, and comes out and goes, be careful what you wish for. Fuck!
Which, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be
He's brooding and dark. Going to be all like, be aware of the things in the night that you call upon. And he'd be like, I don't know what he's saying, but it's crazy. Like Bray. Never understood that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. So that was just, you know, it was cool. But then
and they needed to mic
next,
Ricky.
Ricky. Oh yeah.
They needed to mic him. Like he needed to have a mic because Taz is holding the mic like this. But Taz is shaped like a barrel. Ricky couldn't get his neck out far enough to talk into the mic, and so you could hardly hear him.
And his son, Taz's son, is like huge.
Yeah.
So, and like Ricky's not, I mean, Ricky's at least 6 feet, I would say. And that was it was a little awkward. I mean, I know, don't give Cage a mic. Will Hobbs just does not need to speak because I think his actions
he's scary
speak for him, and that snarl. But yeah, Ricky should have had the mic, and you know, it was very interesting. And then that was a positive. He got glasses, so shout out to you, Ricky Starks, because you can see now.
Hell yeah, dude's got vision. Got
he's got
vision.
But yeah, no, I just thought that was a really weird choice.
Yeah, Klump, what'd you think of this part? Sting coming out and having a father-son moment with Darby, little baby Darby.
I totally forgot this.
He's like, I'm so proud of you, son.
I didn't see this, but honestly, I don't know why. I don't know how Darby got so annoying to me.
Weird, right? Because he was on fire when we first started.
Yeah. I think it's the fucking high school videos. Honestly, I still go back to that and his just general bro.
The turtle.
Yeah. Oh, and last week when he does Wayne, he does the shittiest promo, and I'm just like, I'm done. Like, just it's the most telegraphed, basic, vague, I'm dark and brooding promo ever. It's like, we can't afford Undertaker, but you know what we're gonna do? Spooky McDeddington. That's our guy. So we just
That's our guy. Yeah.
it's yeah.
No, I feel you. I'm really glad Amanda liked the segment overall. I think she went in kind of biased. I was expecting more out of it than we got, to be honest. I was a little it did feel a little bit flat again to me, and I was like, ugh. I was like, but we're getting a street fight at Revolution, Little Baby Derby with Papa Sting versus, who are the two that they picked for it? Was it Starks and Cage?
Cage. Mm-hmm.
Starks and Cage against Little Baby Derby and Papa Sting in a street fight. I don't know, man. I think this company has a tremendous relationship with Shaquille O'Neal. So the one thing I know for certain, Sting will have absolutely enough icy hot.
Yeah.
And they also have two luchadors that smell like Tiger Balm. So it's a good combination.
Oh, Tiger Balm. What was the other commercial we saw Shaq in? He was a new one. Kellogg's.
Oh,
He's in Papa
Kellogg's?
John's. He's in Kellogg's. He's in Icy Hot. And he's in The General. Shaq is amazing.
General.
And he's an AEW superstar. Future Hall of Famer.
Upper
And
mid-card.
and he's one of those like basketball like dudes, the TNT dudes.
What?
I don't know if they have a name.
You mean a basketball player?
No, the commentator guys. I don't know what they call them. I don't know. Basketball's not my thing. I don't know.
One of those basketball dudes that, dribble and shit.
You know,
Greatest players of all time.
No, I don't know.
He's like friends with basketball players, that guy. How cool is that?
Yeah. But I think the match is gonna be in some kind of street, and they're gonna have a lot of snow. Which now it's in March, so I don't know. I don't live somewhere where there's snow, so
I think they're going to do this
But
at
I
the
know
Bash at the
there's-
Beach, aren't they? Beach days?
No, that they're not going to Miami anymore. They decided not
That's
to. They're
good.
staying in Jacksonville.
All right.
The Bash at the Beach is not going to be a beach.
It's going to be a snow bank. Perfect.
Yeah. So we're gonna get snow. We're
Florida.
probably gonna get skateboards with tacks on it again, and Sting in his bat. And I feel that Ricky and Sting's bat is the equivalent to Sammy and getting run over by a vehicle. That's
a
new
good point.
one.
That's going to be a new one. Bishop is
which-
saying he's out. Cheers, Bishop. Thanks for coming through. We appreciate the listen later. Yeah. Maybe I'll send you a timestamp when we talk about NXT. Cheers.
So I don't know, but I also think that I'm not expecting Team Taz to win, and
Yeah,
I
they
will
can't.
say that I think that that's going to be the start of Ricky Starks in his, I don't know, I don't want to call him a baby because he's really not. He can't be, but I mean that's going to be his departure out, I think.
Yeah, once he starts doing the job for Sting over and over again, I could see that being a point of
Yeah.
contention.
Yeah, and that we lost because you suck. I mean, I could see Taz doing that. Just, I'm waiting for those promos of the two of them just yelling at each other. I think that'll be
Oh.
gold.
Yeah, that could be
And
good.
yes,
That could be good. And then you're gonna get Ricky and Hook. Let's see. I got this. Oh, overall. So let's talk about some overall stuff. We don't need to hit all this. I mean, even the matches, I don't think were very good in here. Cody versus Pretty Peter was not only not a tremendous match for a Cody match, it was kind of a flat match, and Cody struggled through most of this match because Jade Cargill came out, which he also telegraphed, because before she came out, he stopped and stared up the ramp and was looking around when nothing was happening for way too long, and then she came, and then music played, and then she came out, and you're like, what the fuck? And then this match went on for like 15 minutes, so I don't understand any of that. JR, way silent a lot of the night.
Yeah.
He just didn't have shit to say. He was like, and then during one of the matches, there's a series of moves with like 4 botches in a row. And then Excalibur goes, "Oh, this guy went for the pin, but he's not even the legal man." So this other guy, went to main, and fucking JR goes, "Does it even matter? This thing is a runaway train." Like,
Yeah.
I
JR was
like,
not
thank
having
you,
it.
JR. Thank you, JR, so much.
Yeah. And Shivani it felt like he was just kind of out there too. I don't think he contributed to anything. So,
Yeah.
it was
Excalibur,
Moxley-
it's all to you.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
Moxley had a match
that-
with the Geico Caveman, which was cool.
yeah, that's a positive. Nick Camarado, total
Yeah.
positive. I'd like to see them use him a lot more.
Dude,
I
he's a
think
monster.
that I'd like to see him more.
Actual
Yeah,
monster.
I think he
Go ahead,
looked good. I liked that. I just didn't the Moxley promo, if it was 7/8 as long as it was good.
Yeah. If they'd
know,
shaved a little bit of that promo, it would have been solid.
After Pretty Peter and Cody, between that and the Jungle Boy versus Revival kind of promo.
That was positive too.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a good little promo.
Specifically, it was a quick moment, but I'm gonna call this out because of how annoyed it made me. So there's a joke about comedian Burt Kreischer, who's the host of the Big Show or Go Big Show. It's a long joke people have made about his name because it's weird to pronounce. Last week, and Jericho mispronounced his name, probably deliberately because that's Jericho's stupid thing to do, make fun of people's names. Excalibur did it in such a dumbass way and so quick, but it came off like, I know he's fucking around. It's not your gimmick, but when you do it as you do, damn, you sound dumb. And it just made me sit there and go like, why? Why did you have to do that? Because it served no benefit.
You think it's hysterical?
Yeah, it's an old bit. It's a dumb bit. It wasn't great when Jericho did it. It annoys me when he does this shit because it's his thing. But when you just do it, like, say his name wrong and keep going, it's like, you don't sound smart.
Yeah, 100%.
But I also don't give you enough credit to make a mistake.
That's a good point too. Yeah, you're right. It's like, I can't tell if you're actually dumb or not, and it's kind of a problem. I will say about the FTR and Jurassic Express thing, it was pretty cool. It was a nice little build to have Scott Dawson. That's not his name. What's his name now?
Dot Scosson.
He's Dash, I
I have
think.
no idea.
Dax.
Dax?
Cash.
Dash?
We have Dash.
I
We
don't
have.
know.
I don't.
Cash
Bald,
Wheeler.
we have Bald
and Dax
FTR.
Harwood.
Yeah. So one of them. I think it's Dax.
Wait.
Not
It's Dax
Dax?
Harwood.
Yeah, Dax Harwood's now going to be in a match with Jungle Boy, which is on paper kind of cool, but realistically, we have FTR, the greatest tag team potentially in the world, not in a tag match, and against someone who, as of thus far, has been portrayed as a valiant jobber. And I don't know why. I would say that the only thing I would have cut from this is everything Luchasaurus said, because he made it real convoluted. Where at first he's all like, Dax is all, I don't need my guys. I won't even have them. And he goes, no, you won't even. First off, you're not going to have your guys. Secondly, I'm going to be ringside, and all of us will be ringside to make sure you don't have your guys. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, and then he's like, yeah, like I said, I won't have them. Like, what the fuck?
I have issues with Luchasaurus because you know how you think Excalibur does that, it's kind of that, you're explaining things and you're treating me like I'm like 2 years old and I'm dumb and I don't know what I'm doing, talking about or listening or watching. I think he is the same way too. His character, I have a master's degree. So you were on Big Brother. That's the only reason why people were booking you is because you were on Big Brother. And so I don't know. I have an issue with his character because it's like he's supposed to be this all-knowing whatever. Because he's lived a billion years or whatever the hell. But he
Yeah.
didn't need to speak. I mean,
No, Dax and Jungle Boy had it handled.
yeah. Hmm.
I think Tully said something for a second, but it was fine. I mean, they all had it fine.
Yeah.
And then Luchasaurus is like, I gotta say something, and you're like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
So Luchasaurus should shut the fuck up while the guys do the work.
Yes.
But we are gonna
And
get
I'm excited. Yeah.
yeah, Dax and Jungle Boy sounds cool.
Mhm.
I really don't know where we're going with it though.
You know,
Maybe
I'm
that's fine,
very
though. I don't need
interested.
to.
I'm very interested because this could be the start of seeing Jungle Boy do singles
Oh, that's a
a little
great
bit
call.
more. And I would
That's a
really
great call.
love his departure from Jurassic Express, only because the kid is just so damn talented. And why
And
are
he's
you
put
going to
on
buy
some
rights
size.
to a song?
Well,
You know?
and I think also he in this face-off, I realized, oh, he's not that small. Like not like in terms of muscle mass. Like he's not that short. If he can stand basically the same height as Dax, I'm like, yeah, you can do this, dude. You're not small. You could be you have a lot of potential. You're really young. You could be somebody really big, like
Yeah.
as a figure. Just I don't know if you need these two with you.
Yeah, 100%. I think Jurassic Express should go extinct, and Jungle Boy should remain, like all of humanity did. Oh, that was a tough one. It's a tough one, but I finished my sentence. Let me see. I did not like the private party stuff. Top Flight or them. Penelope Ford had a decent match with Layla.
Okay, that Miro stuff and Charles
Fucking
Taylor.
Trash.
Yeah, that
No.
ruined a decent match. I was like, well,
Yeah.
it wasn't a great match. I felt
It
like
was-
I was watching a lot of sparring and like practicing, but it wasn't bad. And then
Yes.
even the most diehard AEW fans I've heard are really not a fan of
What?
how the women's division portrayed, and it's great that you immediately just
Did we lose
covered up with.
Did I lose audio?
I was hearing Clump.
Yes, I can't.
Can you still hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
Keep going and then pitch it over to Amanda.
Okay. Yeah, but it was just dog shit. Go ahead, Amanda.
Well, I have to agree with that. Like the match was pretty decent. I know that Penelope, you could tell that mat work is not her thing. But it was really a nice little match. But then you have this stuff. And I really think that, I don't know why we're doing it, one. And two, is it because these are like popular characters and we need to have them do something? That's what that feels like to me.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I get it. Like people want to see Orange Cassidy, and he got his action figure before a lot of other people. So I mean, I get it, but it's like no. And I don't know. I just think it's funny. I can't call Chucky T Charles Taylor. That just doesn't.
Yeah,
it's weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It all is, but in this, I think there were better ways to have had separate segments of Miro and Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy and have these events occur that could have been backstage and just happened versus this, because this was just like it was just awkward and weird. Like it I would have much rather seen Layla Hirsch versus, I don't know, Big Swole. Like,
yeah,
I know they don't have chemistry, but that would have been a cool match because she was doing good, and I like her style. Something about a really tiny Russian woman's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think too with those segments, those should be a backstage thing, and when little like 1.5 minutes, a minute that you're using on social media and not on national TV. So I mean, some people probably like it. I mean, if you're a fan of them, yeah, you're gonna love it because your faves are getting airtime. But it just didn't. It's already, the evening was already pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So it just was like, oh God, really? Okay,
Yeah.
now what? That was my attitude. Now what's gonna happen?
What person booking this thought, you know what, this needs this after looking at everything else? And this would have been like a good old school moment of like, okay, we're changing something on the fly because we really could have we needed that. We needed a change because this was just
Yeah.
blah.
because what was after it? Was it the private party match?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, see, that's where it was like, okay, you're going from one train wreck-ish that was kind of weird to something else that was kind of train wrecky and weird, because I don't know. I don't know. It just, everything seemed weird. I don't know if it was because, okay, these guys were just on Impact yesterday or the day before, obviously, and whatever. And they're heels now all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird, because I was like, when did that happen? So I just sat there like, what's going on? And I wasn't understanding. So it was, it was a little weird. And then obviously the match, good Lord, I'm not gonna go there. A positive is Top Flight is just amazing.
Hmm?
They need work, but
I think
yeah.
In the ring, great.
Mm-hmm.
I hate their promos.
Yeah.
But they're still, I think in this company, they're in the upper echelon, They have personality, which is, it seems they've pushed so many tag teams, like Private Party, y'all are skilled, but fuck, I could care less about you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to like you, but I don't give a shit when you do anything, and you're talented as all hell.
Yeah. I think that those two teams, and this is what hurts them, is they're very spot monkey-ish. Mm-hmm. And I think that they haven't had the time to really develop and hone their craft. So like the Young Bucks, I'm going to use the Young Bucks as an example. That shit is years of honing their craft, and not, let me do something off the fly, before we, have this taping, because I think it might be cool, and just kind of let it rip. I mean, I think that that's a big learning thing for them. And two, I think also when you're on TV, and they both are pretty, young people.
Yeah.
I mean, there could have been nerves, I don't know. But again, it just was like, gosh, this is like a train wreck. And I mean, I'm trying to be nice, but Top Flight, I mean, that's the only thing I got out of it, was really that they've got a bright future. They just need more work.
Yes, I agree. And I think honestly, I really think if they drop the attempt at freestyle rapping, they do a lot better, because there are ways to portray.
That's the wrong tag team. That's the Acclaimed.
Well, shit.
What?
Different group.
But again, that's another one too that,
Top Flight's awesome.
Yeah.
No holes in their game.
Okay, fuck the Acclaimed. You know what? I'll take back everything I say, because I was just thinking of the Acclaimed. Fuck the Acclaimed. Top Flight, fantastic. Great boys. Great boys. Can't think anything bad about them.
They're what, like 18 and 20 or something like that? Yeah, they've got a bright future. Yeah.
Did you guys? So I'll assume you guys talked about the private party, all that stuff, Luchasaurus, all that stuff. So then, at that point, did you guys mention?
Party and the Acclaimed.
Yeah, the Acclaimed.
You made sure you brought in the Acclaimed. The Eddie Kingston promo, did you guys talk about that with him and Lance Archer and Jake?
No.
I felt like Eddie Kingston had the line of the night, and I thought it was such a great line that we've never really heard a wrestler ever say, and it was just so fucking perfect when the announcer or the interviewer, whatever, she like says on the mic, she's like, how do you prepare for a match against someone you've never been in the ring with before? And she puts the mic in front of him, and he just goes, I just fight. And you go, oh, yes. I don't prepare. I just get ready to fucking knuckle up. And I was just like, God damn. Okay.
You give Eddie Kingston a mic, and that's a total win. It's a total positive. Anytime he gets a mic, positive. And I think that promo, Jake didn't have to talk after it, because see, again, something good gets kind of weird. He didn't have to talk after it. Yeah. I mean, Archer and Eddie were fine. I didn't need Jake to intervene. Yeah. So again, something good, and then it gets kind of funky.
I felt like Lance Archer could have looked towards the camera almost at all. Like the way that his back was to the camera, it was a little weird. But maybe I think that's part of the style of AEW, to be honest. I think they don't want people facing the camera because they want it to seem more real. But it just looks like choreographed facing away from the camera to me.
I don't know. To me, it just adds on to the whole poor camera work.
I don't even remember when that was, to be honest with you.
Like it just it all seems on the same path.
Yeah.
There's get your friend who can volunteer to do camera work, and that's what it feels like. I don't know, but
yeah, if there wasn't enough other little slip-ups here and there, it might be the kind of thing that looks like a style, but when there's enough other slip-ups, it just starts to look like nobody knows what they're doing. So I could see that. But, yeah, I did like Eddie saying that line. I thought that was so good. And I didn't mind Jake and Eddie having a back and forth. I think I liked it more than I liked Lance having the back and forth. But I do agree.
Yeah.
Some of what Jake was saying wasn't making a lot of sense. And he's dressed super weird. But I just kind of like Jake.
Dressed like Ricky Starks.
So you got Papa Sting with Baby Darby, and then you got Papa Jake with Baby Ricky.
Yeah, but Ricky be all no. He'd have to clean it up a little. But that's what Jake reminds me of, is like Ricky when he wears those shirts.
Yeah.
Ricky the trouser snake Starks.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Not going there.
If let's see, the final match was a total shit show in my book. There was a really cool spot with Hager, where he really got some heat and got to show strong for a minute. And then I was gonna throw out that match, and then I was gonna mention the tournament and the main event coming up.
Oh no. There was something I was puzzled by.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Good Brothers.
Yeah.
And Penta. All of a sudden, it cut to them, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
And Kenny putting a boot in his mouth, which was
I don't know where.
Somebody with a foot fetish loved it. I don't know. It was fucking weird.
It was weird.
I didn't like any of the Young Bucks thing with Don Callis at all. I didn't like any of the Don Callis with Kenny Omega at all. I think you're right. The Good Brothers are beating the shit out of Penta, but now that you mention it, the match that we have going into the Beach House Bunkaroo party time birthday cake, I don't know what they call it. It's going to be Kenny and the Good Brothers against Pac, Moxley, and Phoenix. Those three are not storyline connected at all right now. I wonder if Penta has COVID, and that wasn't actually that wasn't Penta. That was faux Penta to get him out of the match. And I bet you it was supposed to be the Lucha Brothers and Moxley, but Penta's got COVID, so he can't show up. So they beat him down and then throw Pac in the match.
What makes you think COVID, possibly?
Maybe.
I think COVID because why else would you pull him from the match? And I think that he's not likely injured, and it's been coming out in the quote newses and dirt sheets about all the different people who have COVID that they just were talking about. Jericho admitted to having COVID and never missing a show. Nick Jackson apparently had COVID.
That's not great.
What do you mean?
I had COVID and didn't miss a show. That's the fucking goddamn it, Jericho.
Yeah, well, I mean, but he said he was safe, so
How can
obviously
you say you have COVID?
You can. He's a fucking
doesn't give it to people.
I appreciate Marsh still trying to make the joke, and I just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Nia and Jericho are the two people I don't give a shit about. We're making fun of. I don't care. I don't care if we're from them. I'm with this.
That's a good point. I don't know if having heat with Jericho or Nia hurts our brand or helps our brand. But
I'm glad he lost 3 men last year.
Everybody doesn't care for Jericho.
Yeah. He's not doing himself any favors. He landed on his fucking head. But I bet you that's what it is. I bet you Penta's got COVID and they're not releasing it, which I'm not saying they should release it. I've been defending every company when they keep their medical history of their employees safe. But I do think that there's a possibility there that Penta's got COVID. They had to get him out of the match because otherwise, I mean, they didn't get a good shot of Penta at all. It was all just like the side of his mask for a second and then people on top of him. It could have been literally anybody down there.
Yes. And Jericho did dress up as Penta at All In, so, could be someone else.
Yeah, swollen Penta. I bet you that's what it is. And to be honest, I won't knock a company for trying to come up with a pivot in that kind of instance because they do need to get him out of the match. What are you going to do? Good Brothers look like badasses. They look like mean motherfuckers. They just beat him up. No reason. I'm okay
Or
with it. Go ahead.
Is it because the Lucha Brothers were on Impact? And since we have this merging of whatever, this is happening. Maybe that has something to do with it. But again, in this AEW universe, none of us know that.
True.
So, can't find out on BTE what the heck this is. So that's where it's kind of weird.
Yeah. They didn't play it out. Justin is in the chat a little bit. I don't want to neglect Justin. He's our one soldier tonight. Last episode, we had a lot of people in there with a lot of chatter. Justin's hanging tough, having a drink, and hanging out with us. I think Kuro passed out. He came in drunk already. Let's see. Justin says that he does feel it's time for Matt Hardy to hang it up. He's not doing anything for the show. And then says Jericho looked horrible. He's another one not doing anything for the show. He's done what he needed to do for the show, and now it's time to call it quits for the show. I threw in that last for the show because he said it. And I agree 100%. I think that the company's outgrown Jericho and any usefulness he has, especially on screen. As far as off screen, I don't know. Maybe he does have good potlucks or something. It's hard to say. But I don't think Jericho did anybody any favors in this match. I don't think he did himself any favors. I don't know what him or Matt Hardy are bringing on screen that's much. I have a question about Matt Hardy for you guys. And if I'm being a dick, just stop me and tell me to move on. Because I might be being a dick. Matt Hardy suddenly flipped over to Big Money Matt, but has made a lot of Vince McMahon cracks. In his contract signing, he was like talking about third party, talking about taking advantage of them, talking about you guys were nobody without me. I made you who you are. I gave you notoriety, so you owe me. And really taking a lot of internet-style digs at Vince. Do you think, am I being a dick if I say, this all happened right after Brody passed away, and Brody's gimmick when he first came in as Mr. Brody was a Mr. McMahon gimmick? Do you think he's kind of doing an homage, like what he thinks is a cool thing to do for Brody? Or am I just like being a total asshole? If I'm being a total asshole, I'm sorry.
You always are a total asshole, but I think this... I know that there's elements of Vincent Brody's gimmick, and if anyone says no, yeah, it was there. But I think also it kind of kept growing in some ways, and I'll throw a lot of what Brody and his family and those around him said about his view of the industry and of working in WWE. So I'll say, yeah, it might have been a parody of him in parts, but also I don't think it was as vicious. I see what Matt's doing, and a lot of little snips at things.
Yeah.
When a character is in a position of power, it seems like in AEW, that means a bad person in power has to be Vince. It doesn't, I don't know if it's, hey, I'm going to do this, or hey, you're going to do this. As in somebody's, what would go further is this, and another example you threw out a few months ago is, Nero coming out his first promo. He said that he was throwing some lines on that were kind of critical of WWE. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if it's the talent themselves or that it's an easy target. It just, I don't know. It doesn't feel. I don't think it's being an asshole. I think there are parallels though. I don't. If nothing else, to me,
you're doing it as like in a weird sense, like an attempted tribute to him, or do you think that he's just running with a different side of it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a tribute. I think it's more of you need to have private party if they want to put stock in them. You need to have something for them to do, and you're paying Matt Hardy. So you have to have something to do. And this is what has evolved from that idea that maybe Tony had in his head. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's how I can justify it. I don't think it's
okay.
Yeah. And everyone
I'm not trying to push
on
anything on it. I'm not trying to stir up shit or anything like that. It's just a thought
No,
I
no.
had where I was like, I wonder if he's doing it because of this. Just because it did come kind of out of nowhere and it does seem so extreme. I was like, do you think he's doing it? But if you guys are saying that's not how you see it at all, then it could very well be coincidental and the kind of thing that could have happened parallel to the other character as well. And I won't pursue that. Let's see. So the main event, Kenny, Good Brothers, Pac, Mox, Phoenix. Anything you guys to say about that other than it's probably going to be a decent match?
Wait, that one's at Revolution? Or is that
the beach bunkhouse?
the beach? Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Because this
Well, okay. So now here's the other thing. And then we'll move on. AEW is putting on an eliminator tournament, which, by the way, championship eliminator tournament. That's gotta be a phrase that Tony Khan coined when he had his own internet email e-fed, right? Like, that's a child's name. A child came up with that. And this is the second time it's happened, which lets me know that child thinks it's actually super cool. Seriously, super cool. I still, to this day, my character I made in all my creator wrestlers, my wrestler persona was Corporal Punishment. He was a military man, and he was vicious. I still know it was a badass name. But it's my idea from when I was a kid, and probably everyone else goes, you sound like a kid when you say shit like that. And that's what Eliminator Tournament sounds like to me. Am I wrong?
No. It was a very, like, why is it named this?
And it's the second one they're doing, and so it's to determine a number one contender for the AEW Women's Championship, which is otherwise irrelevant, and it's going to have, like, a fucking bunch of women. I don't even know where they're all going to come from.
Here's the question.
Go ahead.
So if this is to decide a number one contender, then those rankings don't mean shit, right?
They can't.
Yeah.
Your rankings is shit. Club,
Yeah,
what do you think?
I don't know. I hope if they go with the current ladies that are wrestling now, God, that's going to be not very good.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Joshi women are coming back. But there's two women who are not under contract that I would love to see in this tournament. That would be Allison Kay and Taya Valkyrie.
Taya is not in a contract right now. What do you guys think? Well, okay, Klump, go ahead. Say whatever you want to say about the Eliminator Tournament. Perfect. That's how I feel.
Yeah, like, let's see what you guys can do. You've done nothing but let me down with regard to women's wrestling for however many decades it felt like you've existed because this shit's lasted this long. But okay.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be on their YouTube show or their actual show. We'll find out. That does bring me to a good transition into NXT, though. 3 new signees in NXT. Unless there's anything on AEW you guys were desperate to talk about.
No.
Nope. All right. Then forever
Desperate to get away from it. Let's go.
3 new signees in NXT. You had Lacey Ryan, Elena Black, and Priscilla Kelly. The 3 of them signed with NXT and have been shown and teamed up for the Women's Dusty Classic. I almost said the Dusty Women's Classic. Dude, that would be the wrong way to describe that.
Yeah. That's a way to get us some heat.
Yeah. Whoa!
Hot take!
So they've been announced. They have new identities, new names, which I also think is very interesting. Not a single one of them kept their name, which means the company does not see value in their names. The personas they made on the indies did them no favors. And I'm looking at you, Priscilla Kelly, and all your weirdo shit you did. But I think it's a huge takeaway. Second takeaway is these 3 women were all on AEW Dark more than once or twice, from what I remember. I don't watch AEW Dark, but I see a lot of a lot of postings about it, and I remember the three of them being on there regularly, and they signed with NXT. Do you think that's a sign of where people want to be versus the offerings that they got? Do you think NXT just flat out paid more, or do you think they just wanted to be there?
With Priscilla Kelly,
yeah.
Obviously her ex-husband is Darby, and so where else do you go? And I can see why she changed her name, because you want to get far away from the weird things you did with whatever.
Yeah.
Get far away from it, because they don't want people. People will remember it. They're always going to remember that. I think Elena Black, I think she's one of the signees because her boyfriend is Blake Christian of GCW fame, very good, and he's one of the standouts that wasn't signed yet. So I'm thinking maybe it's part way that he might be going that way, and couples thing, but that always doesn't work. But that's what I see there. And I think that, what other choice do you have? NWA is, two sheets to the wind, and, Impact, it's like, well, they're a great division, but if they're doing this mishmash thing now, you're still kind of.
Yeah. I wonder if I am watching Taya Valkyrie because I think that she has to go to NXT, right? Or at least WWE in general. She's like married to John Morrison for one, and again, just because you're a couple doesn't mean you got to be in the same thing. Joey Janela is in AEW, and Brandy Lauren's in NXT, and I don't in my gut feel like NXT is knocking on Joey's door, but I don't know. It just makes me wonder, like, if Taya ends up in WWE after we had Brandy Lauren show up in NXT, and we've had Lindsay Snow show up on both, but she hasn't really signed with either, but we had these three women go here, it starts to really make AEW look like not a cool place to go if you're a woman. The only women who have signed over in AEW who've made any kind of a bit of a rattle or a noise was Thunder and Serena Deeb. And I kind of don't think that makes their division look great, because Thunder has adamantly said she's not signed to AEW because she's signed to NWA.
Yeah.
Like, your whole division is based around two people who have nothing to do with your division.
Yeah.
It just seems weird. But I did think it was cool. It was telling. I do think that we're going to see big things with those three women. I think they're all very good. We are friends of Mission Pro Wrestling here. We like to sponsor them, trying to sponsor them for February. We're probably running a little late on the idea of that, but holy shit. In the chat just happened, Fab Tina goes, how much did AEW's main show make you even want to watch Tuesday's Dark Show now? And she goes, where's Splinter Fox when you need him? And the immediate response is from Splinter Fox, hi again, poor Snow, she got injured. And then Fab Tina goes, here we go. And Justin Time goes, holy smokes. He's like, Fab Tina, you spoke Splinter Fox into the chat. That's bonkers. And that is insane. Fab Tina's like, where's Splinter Fox? He goes, right here.
I am only watching Dark because of the man behind me. I'm only watching for Ricky Starks.
So you watch AEW Starks?
I watch AEW Starks.
AEW Starks.
Mm-hmm. Or we get him on commentary, which was really even on Dark. This is how shitty AEW has kind of been. He did the opening match and was fine. Then all of a sudden, his voice was kind of hoarse because remember he got hit in the throat with a bat.
Yeah.
Da-da-da. And I was like, "Whoa, you were fine a minute ago." God, drama queen. The editing for that is not very good. So
it's not great. Yeah.
That was another call out too. I was like, "Damn, this is just falling apart. I don't know what's going on."
I did love NXT overall. It was refreshing. It felt good. After a less than exciting Dynamite, and I apologize, we talked about it for as long as we did. But NXT came through and immediately opened up with My thing just froze. What did it open up with?
With Aja's guy.
Leon Ruff. It was that match?
Yeah,
No
it's
way.
Kushida.
It opened up with Kushida and Ruff against Gargano and Austin Theory. That's how the show opened?
That's what it opened with. I was shocked
Oh, shit's frozen.
about that one.
All right. But it was really exciting to see just some really fine wrestling. Yeah, Leon Ruff was doing some awesome stuff. I remember him looking like he was just moving crazy. For a dude who's so small, he moves with force.
Yeah.
There's a lot of connection. And Kushida is so good right now. He's just so good.
Good, period. And I really like that pairing because they complement each other well. And because Kushida's been doing this forever, it seems, that I think Leon Ruff, there's a lot of good learning to be had with that. So definitely, I really enjoyed that match.
Yeah. Oh, it was so good.
Still not sold on Austin Theory, though.
I am because they lost. I was really excited, actually, that Kushida and Leon Ruff won. It fucked up my bracket because I didn't think they were going to let them go.
I did.
Now
why are you going to sign this guy who's like one of the major stars of New Japan and not have him move forward? And you didn't send me the bracket, by the way, but I would have had Leon Ruff and Kushida on my side because Johnny has a belt. He doesn't need a tag belt too or whatever they're getting. So yeah, there's no need.
Yeah, I just thought they were going to try to do something where Kushida has something kind of revenge to get at Johnny Gargano, but they actually did it smarter than I thought because at the end of the day, Kushida got the pin over Gargano. That's 2 times he's pinned the North American champion. That means we're going to get a Gargano and Kushida program for that title. And I'm excited to see what Kushida does with that because I do want to see Kushida draped in gold.
Mm-hmm.
What?
That time.
Yeah, Klump said he had to step away. So I do think that's cool. And Leon Ruff is so fucking good. I didn't have a problem with almost anybody in this. I'm not usually a fan of Gargano. I thought he did all right here. I do think he's a little too choreographed for me and not actually a bad guy that's believable. But I thought everyone else in the match was doing so good that he was just part of a larger match, and I was like, this is nice.
It was nice to see wrestling and not
It was.
weirdness, an actual
Did you immediately
story.
get a different kind of feeling?
I did. It was like night and day. It was, when I was watching this match, I was like, damn, like this is like really good. Like why was I watching that train wreck? And why didn't I watch this? But I think that because it told the story, it was very, very concise. Obviously commentary, not, it makes it better because they actually give value to what's going on. So I think
they're not
that
selling stuff.
They're selling, They're not join AEW heels,
Yeah, they're not literally trying to sell things. Like I don't mean like not trying to sell the match. They're not literally trying to sell their barbecue sauce podcast T-shirts and Heels fan club. But I thought it was really cool to see Beth Phoenix back on the table. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was excited. But then again, I was like, oh, that, she's going to be there more often now because they're doing the women's side of it. But I loved seeing her there. I was just excited when I saw her. It's like, oh my God, Beth!
Yeah, it was so exciting to see her back. I think she's just so good. She's such a good commentator, and I don't think people give her enough credit at all.
No.
People don't even talk about her on commentary, and she's fantastic.
She's probably one of, I would say, the best woman commentator there is. And if you were to rank wrestlers who do commentary, I mean, I think Wade Barrett, I gotta go there with the name. He's probably at the top because he's just so damn good. And Beth is just like right there. Like I would say they're pretty even. And I mean, because I've heard Lita do it, and it's like, oh,
Yeah. I think Samoa Joe is an amazing wrestler turned commentator just because he emotes in his voice in a way that is just incredible. I know you don't watch Raw, and that's where he commentates.
Oh, okay. I'll have to listen because
incredible.
I've never heard Joe do commentary.
It's insane.
And then-
We should try and find some good clips of him being on commentary. There's a whole thing where like Seth Rollins gets pissed off at Tom Phillips and comes over to get in Tom's face, and then Seth Rollins kind of like Samoa Joe gets up into Seth's face and he's just like, "You're not fucking with my boy Tom," because he's all like, "Tom, get over here," and he's all like, "The thing about Tom is I'm standing in the way between the two of you," kind of a deal. And it was fucking incredible. Samoa Joe, just in general, so good.
Yeah.
But yes, Beth Phoenix, I think, is top 5 wrestler turned commentator. Sure, her as far as women commentator goes, I think she's probably top 2. I can't think of a better one. I'm just leaving it open in case there is. That's so funny. Kuro's in the chat says, "So I just went on an advertising spree for your guys' show and told Zicky Dice to plug you guys in his streams." It's so good. Dude, and Zicky's a cool guy. I've met him. I know that you find him kind of gross because that's part of his gimmick is being disgusting, but he was nice to me when I met him, and we had a good couple of laughs. So I actually almost interviewed him one time. So Zicky's a good dude.
He got butt hurt because I clowned him on Twitter. He got butt hurt. He was the one.
Oh, that's true.
Who opened
you guys
the door.
had a back and forth.
Yeah, he opened the door. Even Ricky was like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah,
like the hell.
You left that wide open, and she just slammed it in your face."
Yeah, that's true. He didn't like that. He didn't like being dunked on. Justin does say, "Not the biggest fan of champions being pinned on TV, but the fact it was a tag match and hasn't happened every week, and I'm completely fine with it. Kushida and Johnny Gargano are going to kill it." Yeah, and 100% that too. Champions being tagged or pinned in non-championship matches can feel a bit like the champion comes off weaker. I do think that there's a lot to be said for the fighting another day that commentary doesn't always put over, that champions are usually smarter, right? So they know when it's time to just fucking forget it because it doesn't matter. And in sometimes some of these matches where it's all like, Johnny had every reason to just stop fighting because I can keep fighting and take a shitload out of myself, or I can fucking lay here for 3 seconds and be done with it, still be the champion, and have more energy in case a contender comes up for next week. And commentary doesn't put that over as like they used to. They used to always say, like, they live to fight another day. You give up so you don't get injured kind of a deal. But I agree that people think that it makes the champion look weaker. I think that if the commentary does it right, the champion looks smarter for taking the pin during a non-championship match. Klump, we're happy to have you. And then Splinter Fox does bring up a good point. In NJPW, they do it all the time. That's how they set up rivalries. But that's true, and that's what we were saying about this one as well. Let's see. Pete Dunne had an awesome promo video. I know Klump didn't get to hear it, but he saw it. Let's see. He did use the line cut from the same. He was cut from the same cloth as Finn Balor. Finn Balor had a line previously, and I didn't bring it up last week, but I wanted to, where he goes like, "They don't even manufacture the cloth that I'm cut from," and I was like, that's a bit of a stretch to make a thing work. But Pete Dunne brought it back around, and I was like, it makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, it was a good callback. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
You never
so
see
good.
that anymore.
Yeah. I thought this was just fucking awesome. It made me excited for Pete Dunne and Finn Balor in a way that I wasn't previously excited for. Like, I thought it would be cool, but this made me go like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amanda, anything you want to say about it?
No, I just was excited about it. Just it was well produced. It made it exciting and not something like what was going like what had happened on the other show, where you're like, oh, God.
This felt like this was a nice cold glass in the middle of a hot day. This show.
Mm-hmm.
Klump, what do you think of NXT overall?
It was not bad. NXT overall, and this is without audio, but I did kind of watch a bit outside of it, was, even if AEW was on his game, this is a hard show to beat because it was a solid wrestling show. Matches were good. They were well thought out. Stories made sense. Hell yeah, it was good.
And these stories built into each other, right? So the next segment was Karrion Kross murdered Ashanti the Adonis, and then also murdered his buddy.
Yeah, he did.
I don't remember his buddy's name. I'm looking it up. There's just a lot of names. So he
Victim
murdered
two.
both of them. Victim number 2. Well, I totally forgot that those two were even in the Dusty Classic because I had marked them down as lose round 1. I don't know who you guys are very much. So Karrion Kross comes out, murders the both of them because he's just doing what he does. And he goes, I just feel like killing. He's like Major Payne. Killing is my business, and business is good. Remember Major Payne?
Yes. You remind me of it a lot.
Mr. Peabody.
If he in there, he ain't happy.
Hell yeah. I didn't like Scarlett's headgear, but I don't think I'm supposed to, so I think she was working me.
She's working.
But yeah.
I don't know why that line.
Yeah. So Karrion Kross kills these motherfuckers. Fast forward towards the end, we have that match at the end with a lot of respect between Ciampa and Thatcher. Fast forward to after the show, they're going to be teaming up. So it was a story building on story building on story, which was so good because when you watching the other show, I was just like, what is happening and why? And none of it made sense. When I go, because of this, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like a show written by SpongeBob. Anyways.
Don't insult SpongeBob.
Yeah, SpongeBob would do better, asshole.
Squidward did it.
Yeah, there you go.
No,
Yeah.
this is a Patrick fucking production.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Patrick. He means well, but no.
Anything you guys want to say about Karrion Kross?
Mind are an enigma.
Anything you want to say about Karrion Kross doing what Karrion Kross does?
You know, I think that NXT was the place for him to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
he's
did.
in a
They
good
did
spot.
good. They did good with him with this. It'll be interesting if they let Scarlett wrestle because I know she can. I mean, I've seen her do Hurricane Ranas and like some major stuff in 6-inch heels, and damn, that's pretty impressive. So, I hope at some point.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's in a good spot. Every time I start to think that Karrion Kross is all entrance, and I go, I don't know, man, this guy just might be a big theatrical entrance. It's a little bit much. It's a little overwrought, this entrance. As we get through the entrance, I'm like, it was so fucking cool, though. And then by the end of the match, I was like, God, that guy's good. Like, he's good.
Have you ever seen him? Have you ever seen him on the indies?
You're gonna be mad at me. I turned down an interview with him last time he was on the indies before he signed. I was given an interview with him where someone said, all you have to do is walk in the door and you can have an interview with Killer Kross. And
awesome.
they said, and now might be a good time to talk to him, wink, because it was a month before he signed. And I was all like, I don't really do interviews.
Yeah. But no, his entrance is even on the indie scene. I mean, obviously there's not this pomp and circumstance, but I mean, they're pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't expect anything less of him. And that's the same intensity that he always has and what he's
So
known
good.
for. And he's so good. And then when he's actually the nicest guy, you know, really great. And, you know, like you look and you're like, whoa, this guy like can like rip heads off of chickens, like, and just killing people. But I think this is the best place and really the only place for him. I just can't wait to see if he does end up going on the main roster and does WrestleMania, what one of his entrances would be. I can't imagine. Yeah.
How did he
Ripping
step it
heads off
up? Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah.
Like eating the heads off chickens, just like
Probably.
he's just coming out. He's got like 6 under his arm, like Rolf from Ed, Ed and Eddie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just the fucking Ozzy Osbourne. Just grabs a chicken and bites the head off and throws the chicken into the audience. Like, yeah, I don't know. Karrion Kross is killer. Did you guys? I'm going to talk about the video stuff here, Klump, to get it kind of out of the way, so we can talk about how good some of these matches are. But they did a whole thing with Tyler Rust and Malcolm Bivens being paired up. I like the idea of Bivens looking out for him and getting the match, and him being mad at Rust for getting a match with Bronson because he goes, that's not the direction we're going. I thought that was really cool. But more so than that, unless there's something you want to talk about, MSK had a video package on here which was absolutely phenomenal. And if you only got to see it with the sound off, Klump, I would say go back, find that MSK package and just watch it. If I can, I'll look online and see if I can find the clip by itself.
You probably have it.
I'm looking.
Yeah. It was really good. It opened up in a way that made me go, come on, you dummy. But then I also, by the end of it, was all like, yeah, but he's just goofing off. Because it started out with one of the guys, Nash Carter, I believe, was doing like a Borat impression. And I was like, oh, man, is this guy like fucking Borat? But then you realize it's just him goofing off with his buddy. And you're like, oh, it's just really good friends making each other laugh while they tell their story. And I was like, okay, that's cool. You know how sensitive I am to bad comedy. So I was like, But then he did it. He went through the whole thing. I was like, all right, you're fine. Amanda, what do you think of this video?
Oh God, it was so fantastic. I mean, it's a great introduction for people who don't know who they were. I hate saying that. It's just weird. Yeah. And yeah, that's like what you see there is what you get. I mean, these guys are like jokey, like but they work
seem
so
super
well.
relatable.
Yeah, and
They're
there's
like they're street profits.
Yeah.
Like they're silly and jokey, like that in that sense, and they're relatable. But it's like, but they work better in the ring. So it's like, okay, this is awesome.
yeah, like
Yeah,
I
they're
think
actually wrestlers.
yeah, and they actually these guys, if they were to do singles, they can transfer to that very easily.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
same athleticism, things like that. So I think that with these guys, I mean, they're my pick to win the tourney. Just because there's nobody like them. And I don't think that they will probably be in NXT too long because they're that good and they stand out too much. But then again, I don't know if Raw and SmackDown are ready for something like that. I don't think so.
Well,
Yeah.
You bring
First thing
up a
I said
point.
when I saw them was I want to see them against the Usos. Go ahead, Klump.
Amanda brings up a point that I thought of here when we saw Lucha House Party in the Dusty Classic and seeing MSK. I think if we're truly elevating NXT to the same level of brand as the other shows, I thought seeing Lucha House Party there was it would, if we were having a team eliminated, let's bring other teams in, because then we could have, first team wins the Dusty Classic and then they go back to SmackDown, or the Raw champs come in and they sweep it or they lose, and then that team gets traded to Raw and it's like, oh no, or vice versa, like I think it'd be cool to see some, other teams in the Lucha House Party here, because the other thing is we've talked a lot about how, at various points, one of the main shows has a shit tag team division. Well, if we could do something like this and move some people around, we could theoretically move a lot of tag teams around and fix divisions rapidly.
Yeah, 100%. I think they could do really cool stuff with any team, really. I'm super excited about them. And I thought this video package was perfect because coming into the tag tournament, they just showed up. We didn't know who they were. They didn't show anything like this. And so it was kind of like, okay, I've seen their great wrestling, but who the fuck is it? This is the kind of video where if they had showed it before the match, I'd have been so excited for the match. But I think I'm equally fine getting it after, to be honest. Especially because they didn't have a match this week. So you have them come out. You have them make the big splash with the match. You have them here so that way they're not forgot about. But then they're going to have another match next week. It just kind of keeps it along without being oversaturated with them in any way. So I was down.
Yeah, I like how they did this because you'd never seen them before. And Klump, have you seen them wrestle as the Rascals before?
I've not.
No, okay. So when you have people who've never seen them, it's like, what the fuck? Because you're just like blown away at like just how in tune they are with each other, how smooth it is, and just like, I mean, all sorts of things. And, they both sell very well. And it's one of these things like, whoa, it's totally standout. I don't know anything about these people. And I think that was the best part, is you didn't need to know. You need to see what they did, because now a week later it's like, yeah, this is who we are. And so now it kind of sets them up a little bit more for success. And I think it was a very smart move to do it this way. And kudos to whoever planned this out, because I think it made more of an impact than if they just like did the video package and then showed them. I think that it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Klump, anything?
I'm good. I agree.
Yep.
I want more of them.
Okay, we did get Imperium versus Lucha House Party. Justin does say in the chat, Lucha House Party was really great. They're a really great team that just need time to do anything. The fact that they got the time to shine against a team as great as Imperium and get the win was perfect and shocking. And I agree, because this is one of those ones where you see it and you go, okay, clearly Lucha House Party is here to go down, but Imperium loses and you go, oh shit, that's their big team. Alexander Wolf makes his big return, so that's really cool. Imperium's looking to probably reshape, rebuild, and conquer, I would imagine. But then by Lucha House Party winning, that does move them forward into a match against El Phantasmo and his group. So we're going to get probably a pretty killer Lucha match whenever that round 2 kicks off. I think this could be the kind of thing that actually like takes Lucha House Party towards the end of it. The only problem is I think that we're all pretty in tune with who Lucha House Party is, and this really should be used to define some other teams.
Yeah, I do agree, but that's why I said, like, if we're gonna do this, bring more than just Lucha House Party down, and maybe you can define even more teams. As you know, like have big upsets. You know, like imagine the Street Profits are there, and it's their big return to NXT. It's like, oh, awesome, and say they go for it, or say they put over MSK. Everyone looks good match, different Raw, but had some credibility there. Have the New Day go down. I don't think the New Day to lose anything, but and also they are kind of down some members, but that, have these where people go and form it as a way to more establish Dominic and Ray, or Buddy and Dominic, or Buddy and Mysterio and Ray,
Yeah, that could be a cool thing.
It got quiet.
It did.
I know, I thought someone else was going to say it. If that's, I mean, I agree with all that 100%. I do think that's what makes it cool that we got the Women's Dusty Classic as well. And we had Casey Catanzaro with Carter versus Storm and Martinez. I think it's really cool that Casey and Caden got the win on this one. And I think it'd be really great for a team like that to go all the way towards the end. What makes this one a little interesting is that half the teams we don't know about, because it's with people we've never really seen team before. Do they also get a shot at the tag titles at the end of it? Because this could be a way to make a new tag team and make them champions and look like major contenders and set up the main roster thing. I think whoever wins the Women's Dusty Classic should win the Women's Tag Team Championships off of Asuka and Charlotte, even if it needs Rhea Ripley to interfere to move that storyline along as well. What do you guys think? We'll start with Amanda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what the prize is with this, but I think that's a good setup. And I think that because they have so many great women, what are you going to do with a lot of them? So I think that this is a way to kind of figure out who gels well with each other and kind of go from there. So I think that's it's just a positive with it. I did, I actually, because when I already had the feeling that Tony and they weren't going on, but I think that it's very positive. And I think that, again, like, they've got to move people around and, make it a little bit more fresh. And so I think that they should do that.
Yeah. Klump?
I mean, more so with the women's division than the men's, because it is, we've seen women's tag belts go down to NXT, and since the women's tag belt is on all three brands, like, why not a Dana? Why not Dana and Liv, or sorry, Dana and Mandy Rose? Why not, these other people there? Also, I think it add a lot of weight to what the Dusty Classic means.
Yeah.
I'm all in on this one. It's my passion project.
What was that last thing?
It's my passion project.
Oh. I'm getting like I'm hearing like every fraction of a second of everything, so I'm kind of hearing everything. Like, have you ever been on a mixer, like with a DJ, where they just kind of like shake the end of it? That's what I get. So I'm piecing together everything you guys are saying. But I think it's being recorded just fine. So I couldn't make out the last word you were saying. Is all that was. I don't know why Kurt Stallion's involved, but I guess it's going to be cool, to be honest. But then, okay. Overall, I thought the women's match was awesome, though. And Casey's finish was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I thought she got stuck in the air for a minute. I was like, oh, she's stuck up there. She'll never come down. She'll spin forever.
You can tell that that's Ricochet's girlfriend. That's all. When I saw that move, I was like, damn. She's just so good.
That's funny. Klump?
No,
Anything?
I agree. It was a fucking great match. Why can't AEW have one match a year like this? Just do me a solid, make me a happy. Do a good women's match. Not even women's match. Make me happy.
100%. I want you guys to talk about briefly Bronson Reed versus Tyler Rust, okay? Amanda, go ahead and tell me what you thought about that, and then pitch it over to Klump.
Well, I love Bronson Reed. I mean, that man, holy shit. I mean, he's so big, and a lot of these guys now, these bigger guys, man, they can move. And what I got out of it really was, damn, he just moves very well. He's quick. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was interesting to have, Rust against him, but honestly, like, what is there really for Bronson right now? So nice to see him in the ring. And then seeing what's Stokely Hathaway's name in NXT?
Rust?
No. The dude.
Bivens?
The African American guy. He was Stokely Hathaway when he was on the Indies.
Malcolm Bivens.
Oh, okay. Malcolm Bivens. That was really cool to see, that he was out there and was like, guiding him there. So that was I liked it a lot. Because it was preparing me for what I knew was next. So.
Tyler Rust looked really good and strong, which was weird to do in a match against someone like Bronson Reed. I'm just going to say this real quick. That lizard thing on the back of his jacket annoys the shit out of me, but I love Bronson Reed so much, so I forgive it. But every time I'm like, what the fuck is that, dude? Get that fucking lizard thing off your neck. God damn it. But I love him. I love him so much. That fucking splash off the top is the most brutal thing in all of wrestling. It's amazing.
Yeah. I can't remember the phrase that that Wade Barrett had said, and it tickled me, and I really wish I could remember it, about his size and actually that move. And I was just like, that's a really great way to describe him, and I can't remember what it was for the life of me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hit the chat real quick. Splinter Fox says, "Move what storyline? Keep Rhea far, far away from the Golden Girl." I don't know who the Golden Girl is, but if you're saying Charlotte, they're already intertwined, dude. There's nothing we can do about it. So that's just our fate to have to watch Rhea go through that again.
Betty White, maybe.
Betty White, maybe. Justin says they should send Dominic and Ray to NXT and build up Dominic to challenge for the for the one championship his father gave so much fame to.
But he's
NXT
so
Cruiser
much
title? Dominic's huge though, dude.
We're gonna take away his shins.
Yeah, we'll just cut his legs off and we're good. Justin says building Casey and Caden as the underdogs of the entire tournament. 100% agree. And then he says they got to get Bronson Reed back in contention for the North American Championship after the Kushida and Gargano feud, and I agree with that too. I want to see Bronson Reed draped in gold this year, to be honest. Klump, what do you think about this?
I agree with that last statement. I want Bronson Reed draped in gold. I want Keith Lee to win the Royal Rumble, but Bronson Reed's and he's young, maybe too young, but I could see it. He's got charisma, he's got speed, he's got style, he's good on the mic, he's different. I could see it, and I'd like to see it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's all I got to say about that is I'm happy that Bronson Reed's getting wins. I think Tyler Rust looks remarkably good. I think that him losing that match actually helps his story with Malcolm Bivens, and I'm happy to see Malcolm Bivens doing something again. So this was all like an all-around win for everyone involved. That does bring us to the fight pit. There was a weigh-in before, which I thought was a little bit weird because it's like, why do you have to weigh in for a fight pit? It doesn't make sense, but I don't care. Sometimes it doesn't have to make sense.
Either of these guys weigh a lot, so it's just kind of like, how thin are you?
It made Ciampa sound much smaller than I thought. Because like weighing in at 201, I was like, what? He could get away with 225 for sure. And then they weighed in Thatcher and like weighing in at 225. I was like, what? You can say 250. What are you doing?
No, you can't say 250. No.
Well, like Ciampa and Gargano when they were DIY, it was funny because they were 400 and it was because Johnny was 199 and Tommaso was 201.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Well,
and then since then, Gargano has shaved off about 25 pounds. So, but they had the weigh-in. It looked intense. I wonder
Jericho
how much
got
Ciampa's
it.
beard weighs. What?
Probably. Oh, I bet when you said shaved 25 pounds, Jericho found it.
Oh yeah, Jericho put it on.
Make it
That does bring
fast.
us to the fight pit, guys. Ciampa versus Thatcher in a fight pit. This was fucking rad, man. I do think they spent too much time on top. I do think that there's only so much you can do on that top level that makes sense to me. I thought that Thatcher looked too cautious in the beginning, but he gets there, which I liked. But at the same time, I mean, it's a fight. You know, what's the first thing you do when you're in an actual fight is you create distance between you and your opponent because you need to read them. Mm-hmm. So he was doing smart stuff. It's not as exciting to watch smart stuff sometimes, and that's on me. But this was awesome with a tremendous finish of Ciampa being in a position where there's nothing he could do, and Thatcher showing a form of mercy by not just fucking cranking in. Klump, what'd you think of this?
I thought it was a great match. I loved just the intensity of it, where it started out, where it kept going. I love these two together. I think this is a great example of Ciampa doing, putting somebody over, and I'm excited to see where it keeps going.
Look good. Justin asked in the thing, he said, great match, love the Willow's bell off the ref's back, and the ending was really good. I agree with that. What did you think about the Willow's bell off the ref's back? That pissed me off because I have a problem with Drake, and I don't think he sold it very well. But I like the idea of it. I thought the ref did a poor job of following through with it. But what do you think of that spot off the ref's back? It was interesting.
It was interesting. I agree with you. It was, interesting. It was different. But I don't need it.
I'm looking at my notes real quick, and I'm gonna throw it to Amanda. It's got like all these things like, oh, Pete Dunne did this, Russ did this, Karrion Kross this. At the very end, all it says is cramps. I think I started to write Ciampa and then put my fucking iPad down. Anyways, yeah, cramps. Yeah, cramps. No more fucking cramps.
I got the cramps.
Yeah. Amanda, what'd you think of this?
Oh my God, I have to agree. Oh, okay. After watching whatever I watched, this was holy shit. Like, I agree. They should have spent more time down below, because up top it's like you can't do too much. You know, I mean, it's very limited because you're either going to roll off and into the ring,
Yeah,
or I don't know if you're, like I wasn't really looking at the bar. So like if you're on the ground and you roll the other way, oh, that'd be death. So I think that Thatcher's style suits being down in the actual pit itself. I love
great
watching.
ways to get down off that thing either. Producer was watching it and she goes, I missed how they got into the ring. I was like, oh, they sort of climbed down weirdly. She's like, oh.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. That's what I thought was weird. I'm like, how did they get down? Do they throw each other? I'm like, these guys, I don't want to see them throw, whoever off the thing into the pit. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little weird.
Which Riddle, I think, did it smart last time. I think he threw Thatcher down and then did a dive onto Thatcher. And so you're like,
yeah,
okay, that makes sense. But at the same time with Ciampa, you're all like, Ciampa, you don't need to fucking fall 15 feet again. You've done that enough. We get it. Please stop. Yeah. And Ciampa was the same way, going like, yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm just going to climb down when I have a second.
Yeah. Well, also Riddle is so tall and lanky. So, it looks better, but the two of them, yeah, no. I mean, I don't, I'm sure if he threw Thatcher off, I mean, the bump probably would have been all whoa, because Thatcher really doesn't bump all that much in comparison to other people. But I loved it. I don't like Drake Younger. They could have done without that move. Yeah, I don't like him.
I think what they were going for was cool, but it made the ref look stupid because of how long it took to make it happen, and the ref having to do it the way he had to do it. He had to be a part of it, and they didn't really. There was no real logical momentum reason on why the ref couldn't have gotten himself out of it. Because if you're reffing it, then you're not trying to be involved. But that was a move where he had to actively try to get involved to do that thing, and you're like, okay. It looks cool. I get it. I'm glad Justin enjoyed it. But I agree with you. It didn't need to be there. It made the ref look kind of stupid. But at the same token, if any ref has to look stupid, I'm glad it was Drake. Justin says, Ciampa and Thatcher right now are kind of like the Bar. They're at the point they need a rubber match to decide their series, but instead of doing that, they're becoming a team, which is true. After this, they showed up on the WWE exclusive thing where Ciampa's like, hey, Thatcher, why didn't you break my leg? And he's like, because I'm not a piece of shit, pretty much. And he's like, hey, I heard there's an opening in the Dusty Classic, and it just kind of fades to black. And then Steven Regal retweets it and goes all like, this was sort of true, except now that spot's been filled by Thatcher and Ciampa. And you're like, well, it is true then. Fuck.
Tee.
Yeah. But, so now we are getting Ciampa and Thatcher as a tag team, and I'm not upset by that at all. I think the two of them as a couple of mean-ass, badass dudes. I mean, because those are two dudes I don't want to get in a fight with. If those two dudes are drinking at one end of the bar and they look at me mad, I'm like, fuck.
No. I wouldn't. If those two are around at night, I would not be anywhere near. It's like only daytime. Only interact in the daytime.
Yeah.
Because they're just that kind of scary and dangerous.
Yeah. Splinter Fox says, so they're going to win it. And that's the question to me. With Thatcher and Ciampa in the mix, does MSK still take it? Because they were my pick to win from the beginning, and they still kind of are. But at the same time, you look at Thatcher and Ciampa, and you go, who's going to realistically take Ciampa and Thatcher out of it? And is MSK that team?
I think so.
I mean,
yeah.
That would make them.
Mm-hmm, I think so. It's a totally different style, but it will show you the diversity that MSK has as a team.
Yeah, that's true. And Splinter Fox does bring up, like Joe and Finn did, they joined as a team to win it all. And he doesn't think MSK will beat them. But I think that, like, it could, right? Because, like you said, it's totally different styles, and Ciampa and Thatcher are going to try and ground them because they're clearly so high energy from a high speed at a high elevation that you do try to ground them. But if they could show ways that they could cleverly work their way through it and out of it because they are such a cohesive tag team, then you can have a loss to Thatcher and Ciampa that's not damaging to them as an actual credible team. And still have MSK look like, dude, we're just that good of a team. Like, what do you want? Like, this is what we do.
This would be a great way to showcase that they're not just all like the the fancy flippy doos and things like that, and have that higher energy, that they can do a match that's a little bit more controlled.
It would show a serious side right away.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I do want to say, I want to get your guys' opinion real quick, because Bishop from TW Takes Podcast said some dumb shit on his podcast today, which makes sense because it's called Terrible Wrestling Takes for a reason. He doesn't like the pit because he doesn't like that there's no ropes. What the fuck is that? I love the pit being built the way that it is. I do think it's a little clunky in the beginning to get into the ring, but I love the fact that there's no ropes and it's just a cage and it comes off as a more brutal fight-like feel. Do you guys feel like it's missing ropes? It should have ropes? Klump, what do you think? Amanda, what do you think?
Well, why would there be ropes in the pit? For I don't know. Why? What purpose?
It seems a little bit reminiscent to me to Ken Shamrock. Remember back in the day you had like the Lion's Cage or whatever?
Mm-hmm. But the only thing that I probably would change is it's got to be a better way to get down. I don't know if it's, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
They're just awkwardly climbing down or throwing someone over. There's got to be another way.
Yeah, I agree. There's got to be. Klump, what do you think? Ropes or no ropes for the pit? Should it have ropes?
No ropes. Just like I like the I kind of like it. I was thinking it was going to be like the Tiger's Den, the Shamrock versus Owen Hart.
Yeah.
So I was like, why ropes?
Yeah, 100%. I agree entirely. Splinter Fox agrees in there. Said they just ripped off Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn from fight back in the day. He's thinking of the Owen Hart match, like you said, though. I think he said it in a different tone. But Justin says, I think it's perfect without the ropes. It's this generation's version of the Lion's Den. I agree entirely. Guys, this is why Bishop has his own podcast called Terrible Wrestling Takes, so you can hear all that bullshit over there while we talk about the real stuff over here. That's right. I bury my previous guests every week. He was on the last episode, and it was fantastic, and we went through. We had easily the longest episode we've ever had just because we were going for so long, and now I'm all like, fuck you, dude, you're dumb.
Ropes, no one needs that shit.
Yeah, Klump's like, welcome to the team. Yeah, no, Klump's just like, yeah, he shits on me every time I'm not on the show. That's why I come on so much.
Yeah. I'm a masochist.
Yeah. He's all, Klump's all, yeah, I come on the show because he shits on me when I'm on the show, but it's worse when I'm not. So anytime I'm like, Klump, are you available? And he's all like, fuck, I have to be, or it's going to be real bad.
Just going to get it next week. Double.
Yeah.
Next week with Taco Bell.
Make it smaller. Make it smaller. He's talking about Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman I liked, actually. He was underrated, even by me as a fan. And Justin said Marsh heel turn. That's right. I turned heel on Bishop. That's a good point. Good point. Guys, was there anything else about this match or this setup that you guys missed? I thought this was awesome. I thought the show overall was refreshing. I thought after such an awkward and underwhelming Dynamite that made me wonder, why am I watching this? After the Young Bucks and the Kenny did that whole thing with Don Callis, I'm watching it. I'm literally saying, this is why people make fun of us when we say we watch wrestling, is this right here. I don't know how
took
someone
you
could
that
be
long?
proud of watching AEW and telling their friends, hey, watch this show, and they see what they had this week. I don't always feel that way, but this week I definitely felt that way. Like, fuck, please don't watch this.
But it took
But
you
guys-
that long? No, seriously, because I kind of tapped out. I tapped out at Private Party, to be quite honest. Like, I'm like, if it, if I, wasn't like morbidly curious, I would have gone and done something else. But that's where my brain was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And by
it
the
has to
time the
get
main
better,
event
right?
happened, I'm like, really? For the love of God, jeez. I'm embarrassed.
I wonder, too, if some of those talents, if they are as in control as they say they are with their own creative, how many of them are avoiding being around the inner circle? Because for months now, the inner circle has interacted with fucking nobody but themselves. They've only been in matches against themselves. They've
Yeah.
only done segments with themselves. Them and their stupid sing-alongs and movie parodies, I think people don't want to be around them, dude. They're a fucking smelly turd on the end of a stick.
No. I know
Fuck, you know?
people want to see like Ricky and Sammy, and Ricky steer clear away from that, because what's it going to do? It's going to be something jokey, and if you want to do something serious, that's not the route to go.
Yeah.
So I think that people do stay away. I mean, the only person I think that would probably ever try to even go there would probably be Janela, but we don't see Janela really anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right,
Just because
yeah.
Janela's kind of crazy.
Yeah. That's true. He's crazy enough to just be like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Justin does say it was a great show. It feels like everything's been turned up to 11, and I agree. This is one of those shows. I find myself, I got a few friends who are casual wrestling fans who only watch matches when I tell them to, and the last 4 matches I've told them to have been either on NXT or NXT UK. Except for the Big E Sheamus match, that brawl. I told them to check out that one. I was like, there's some goofiness in it, but it's fun, and hard hitting. This is another one of those episodes where it's almost like your casual wrestling fan who wants to see something different, something that they haven't seen in a while, something that's almost a little more gritty and more believable to get into. Feels like, this is tell them to watch this one. My friends at work, they watched Raw with the Legends Night, and they were telling me about how excited they were about a lot of it, and that the Matt Riddle Bobby Lashley match had them fucking screaming and holding their own chest like, fuck. So there's stuff out there that'll bring people in. I do think this was awesome. I thought the fight pit was so good. I love Ciampa right now. I think Ciampa's doing it right, and I think Gargano's fucking up when you look at these old dudes who just don't want to leave NXT. I don't mean old dudes as in old. I mean as seniority of NXT. They've been there for a long time. I think that Ciampa's making stars. I think Gargano's weighing people down. That's my hot take, but I think Timothy Thatcher is fucking phenomenal. The fight pit is awesome. Guys, was there anything we missed on this one? Klump, I'll throw it to you first. Spinner Fox
I
calls
think
me
we're
a
good.
hater.
That's fair.
What's he talking about? Amanda, was there anything you think we missed?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this was, if you compared the two, and I know everyone loves those ratings, and they're going to be, AEW had more watching. Well, so they were watching crap. I mean, I'd love to know, in that second hour, were people still watching that shit? That's a very good question.
Jericho landed on his fucking head.
And then that weird lion salt that he did, and that move that Sammy had lifted him up and was trying to do his little go to sleep, but he totally missed.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is all of this? This is just awful and weird and whatever. And I don't know. There is a takeaway I have from that match. MJF, if you're going to use fake Tanner, you got to do the inside of your legs.
Get the craw, dude. You got to get up in that
God,
craw.
do it. You have to. I mean, because that was I'm like, oh my God. Because I was so not into this, I caught that and I'm like, whoa, normally I should not be looking there, but I'm like, I have nothing else to look at right now. So yeah.
Get up in it. Get up in
Get
it.
up
Finn
in
says
it.
I'm always hating on Johnny Wrestling, and he's right. 100%. And I do. I'll throw it out there. Not that the ratings mean anything to us, because we're just fans who like to watch. And we just were really frustrated with watching this episode. AEW had 850,000, 850 something thousand. What's his 54 something like that. And NXT was somewhere around the 650, 660, somewhere within that area. So they definitely did not do as well in the ratings as far as that goes. But like you said, I think long term is going to be the story here. I don't think this week by week breakdown that people give, like, oh, it's over, this and that. I don't think that's the story. And I also think that AEW can always turn it around and start putting on a product that is interesting and not embarrassing. And I think that's up to them. Let's see. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Amanda.
Dynamite, I think the problem is with it is we see the same people over and over again, and it's stale.
No, the problem is Sting isn't the champion yet, and we'll get that fixed straight away.
No.
Yeah. No, that's what you do.
No.
That's how you fix it.
No, I mean, we have, like, why did Cody wrestle Pretty Peter Avalon? That's kind of weird, but it's to get him a match on Dynamite, because God forbid he ever wrestle on AEW Dark, I mean, just stuff like that. And I think that's the bad part of it. And then my other gripe is you've got a title that's the TNT title, and it's not being defended right now. It was, but between now and Revolution, there's nothing. They're not doing anything at the beach thingamaroo. So yeah, I mean, there's things that don't make sense. So I don't know. Will it improve? Yeah, if you put some of these people who, are, that are solid and who can actually do good work to keep people invested. Hangman, I need more Hangman in my life. He was the star of that match. I'm sorry. That Dark Order match, he was the star.
I think we all agree. I think we all want AEW better. Klump, would anything make you happier than AEW turning around and becoming the badass show that we know it could have been?
Yes.
Yes, there's one single thing that can make me happier. But that's what you want more than anything. I know it. I know.
No. I honestly, yeah. Like I mean,
your frustration comes from a point of love, and I don't think people get that. The reason we call you our AEW correspondent is because there's no one in the wrestling world you love more than that roster. And when they collaborated to become the Ultra Team, you were in fucking heaven for months, dude, talking about what's going to happen.
I was pumped. I was so excited, and then, boy, oh boy, it's just, yeah. I want everyone to succeed. Go
ahead.
I want everyone to succeed. I want fantastic wrestling. I want great storytelling. I was excited. Because I had really gotten into wrestling, and these were guys I truly liked what they did in NJPW and what I saw in the indies, and I don't know what's changed, because it kind of hurts, because you sit there and think, like, wait, so what's the difference now? If you guys are supposed to have all this creative control, what was happening in these other promotions that made this work better?
Yes, that's a great point. If your complaint was you didn't have creative control before, why was it you were so good before, and now that you have that control, things aren't clicking? Was there something that, if nothing else, you as a performer and an artist can't reach out mentally and say, what were they doing right versus what did I just want to do because I want to do it?
I wonder if it's a thing we say regarding a lot of championships, or a lot of champions. They define themselves in the chase. Yeah. In a sense, what Cody, the Bucks, Kenny, these guys were, they define themselves by being separate, being independent, and being in like a perpetual chase for connection to wrestling world at large outside of, you know, WWE, but also breaking in, you know, connecting with these different people. And that's awesome. And then, well, what changed?
Yeah.
Now, is it like when, you know, Drew gets the belt versus Drew wins the Royal Rumble? Is it Kofi gets the belt versus Kofi Mania? It's an amazing moment, but now, okay, this is a little bit different. What next? And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm frustrated because I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what the failure is, and I would love it to make sense.
Yeah, and the other thing too that burns a little bit, because I've seen it myself, is going back to rewatch some of the stuff in NJPW. It's great. It's brilliant. You go, oh, this is amazing. This is exactly what I thought I was getting. And then so there's a clear definitive difference, like you said. It's almost like a champion in the chase and a villain in the victory. That them getting AEW at all was that victory where it's like, oh, okay, now I can relax and just come out and wave and smile, and you go, oh, I liked you because of the fire that you had to get there. So I could see that, and I don't know. Let's see.
And everyone's factioned off too.
Yes, a lot of factions.
Nobody's standing alone. Darby was, and now no, he's got his dad, with him.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of like, can't people do shit on their own?
Yeah, 100%. I wish there was a lot less factions. And the thing is I love factions, but they're not having faction warfare, so it makes it more annoying to me.
No.
If Inner Circle
like Team Taz.
And if Team Taz and Inner Circle were in a thing where they were in their own one-on-one stories against each other, but it was all revolving around the factions looking for superiority, then that's one thing. But it's not what we're getting. This isn't Nation of Domination against it wasn't Generation X. Who was the other faction they were up against a lot? Hard Foundation for one, but I don't know. Let's see. Splinter Fox says, question, thoughts on having two refs full-time, one in-ring and one outside the ring? Would it add a new element? I think it would add a level of confusion. Even watching the old WrestleMania events where they would do that sometimes, especially with like guest referees, like Muhammad Ali was on the outside and Pat Patterson was on the inside. It never panned out to me to make a lot of sense, where it's all like, you don't worry about what happens on the outside of the ring. I got it here. Do either you think that would be a beneficial element?
Some people have a tough time being in the ring and reffing. Let's go there.
Yeah. Well, and they haven't figured out how to utilize one ref at a time. And the thing is by only having one ref who's in ring and out ring at the same time, it creates for the kind of stories that can have ref distractions and stuff. And AEW flat out just does not know how to do a proper ref distraction, so it never clicks. It doesn't matter. And plus, the other thing is they're not disqualifying people for disqualifying offenses because they just won't do it. So I think it's overcomplication for a thing that they don't understand how to use anyways. And then he does say, you actually watch NJPW. No, you don't. Stop it. Hell is freezing over. But I don't watch them regularly. But Dork Chop will put on their streams and have me watch with them, and I'll watch matches from time to time. Ask Dork Chop. I've watched some. But, and he said all wrestling, not just AEW. But I think that's also the same in WWE. I don't think NXT or WWE or Raw or SmackDown would be benefited by a ref on the outside of the ring. I think you need ref distractions. I think you need the ability to cheat. I think that's what will help define heels and baby faces. I think being able to do something behind the ref's back where one ref sees it and the other one doesn't, it becomes way more over complex and convoluted when you try to have two refs not paying attention to the one thing you're trying to do. Bad guys got to cheat, man. They just got to cheat. Am I missing a mark on any of that one from either of you?
No.
All right, then we'll wrap this up with Justin's comment here. I'm not the one. This is Justin saying, I'm not one that ever cared about the ratings, and I'm glad I don't. I just watch the shows, and I'm not trying to watch them like there's some made-up war like some do. And 100%. And that's exactly why I wanted Klump to explain himself a little bit there, because I think the one thing that none of us here want is an actual war, because WCW versus WWE at the time was really about, is one of these brands going to eviscerate the other one? Will we have half of wrestling? And that was the end goal. I mean, there's a whole lot more to it ultimately on what the WCW demise was, and Turner and AEW, or not AEW, but the AOL Time Warner and all of that, dissolving WCW for the reasons they did. But at the end of the day, it was really cool to watch two competing markets because one of them kind of wanted to take over the other one. That was kind of Ted Turner's thing. But I don't think that any of us from a wrestling fan standpoint want the idea of half the wrestling. We just want the quality of all wrestling to be up. That's one thing that we've been saying from the beginning, and I think a lot of people have, is competition breeds greatness. And the cool thing about being head-to-head with NXT is the idea being that AEW would put out their absolute best quality content every week, and NXT would be forced to do the same. It wasn't about actually having a war to where one of them would be dissolved. It was having a war of competition of the talents, basically saying we can outperform the other guys. And I think that not only are we not seeing that war in general, I don't think the product is reflective of that either. But at the same time, I don't think any of us want an actual war that'll have an end game like that. Am I wrong on either of that from either of you guys?
No, and I think for me, because remember, before I started guesting on your show, I didn't watch NXT. I didn't watch anything WWE. Sure. And so I'm not like 100%, I'm like AEW or I'm 100% whatever. I'm not. Just WWE didn't have any value to me. So I think that when I started to watch, it really is not about, okay, what's better than the other. Each of them have positive things that they do well. And they also have things they don't do well. But when you have shows like this week, it's like you can tell the things you don't do well with. It's kind of like, it's like a nightmare. And you could, if they do it again next week, I'm like, you know what, dudes, it's a sinking ship. And you can't have Shaq on to save it. You can't have whoever. But I think that definitely, there's positives. And I hate it when people like, one's better than the other. No, it's not. And even if you were to throw other promotions into, it's not. I mean, it's really about the quality of the matches, and I think the storyline build, it's all of those things. And then hopefully, they're not burying people.
Yeah. I mean, and even the idea when we started with the tops and bottoms, or what are our favorite moments and what are our least favorites to try to get everything in, the idea was to see a back and forth. The idea was all like, oh, AEW's going to be better some weeks, NXT's going to be better some weeks.
That stopped for that kind of ended.
Yeah, and it's kind of like faded out as you're just all like, oh, not only are they actively not competing, but they're not actively carrying a lot either. I feel like that 5-year contract was probably bad for AEW, to be honest. I think that 1-year contract was good because they came out with a fire and they were trying to do stuff and there was a little bit of a back and forth.
And now it's kind of like
that 5 year. It's all like, oh, we got 5 years to figure it out. It's like, well,
it feels kind of like, yeah, exactly. Okay, this year, we got next week. Well, how long? Because it's not really 5 years. It might be 2. And then in the sense of like, if this gets shitty enough, do you think they'll make up their own mind? And say like, yeah, we're not gonna renew at the end of this 5.
And they're getting another show.
I mean, if they're still getting ratings, cool. But yeah, it may get to a point where it's like, if it's just not fun to watch, it's not fun to watch.
Yeah.
But we'll see this week. Like we said, AEW was a wet fart, as it were, but with less laughs, if you ask me. But. Yeah. Hopefully, like Amanda said, hopefully next week is way different, maybe not even just, it doesn't have to be way different, just way more entertaining, because I think that they are entertaining most of the time, even when I take pot shots at them. Splinter Fox does say he thinks the best wrestling in the world is in NJPW, and it'll always be there, and I don't think that that's an isolated thought. I think a lot of people think that. I've enjoyed most of the shows of theirs I've seen. I mean, I don't think AJ Shinsuke... Go ahead.
They've had some shitty periods. Like, it's... Right now, yes, but they've had some periods of time where they've done some fucking terrible stuff. So it ebbs and flows. The hope is that AEW will get past it. Like NJPW for a period of time toward the end of Inoki working for them or running it, he got weirdly focused on my champions need to be shooters too. And and so you got some weird champs that had no business holding a belt.
Just no charisma.
Yeah, no charisma, and like, yeah, you might be able to beat everyone else in a fight, but no. And then, it's been a space where people who didn't get a great shake in the U.S. did good. Matt Bloom did fantastic in NJPW. It was Giant Bernard. You had a period of time in the mid 2000s where it seemed like, as bad as TNA was regarding former WWE talent, so is NJPW. They'd say, well, let's get a Goldberg, let's get a Brock Lesnar, let's get a Kurt Angle for one match, and we'll pay them a shitload of money. And to me, that's best wrestling in the world. That's doing what other people do, but in a different country.
Yeah.
I hope that AEW can rise to the occasion like NJPW did fix itself. It had a string of fantastic stars that started building up in the late 2000s that still kind of are important to the world of wrestling overall.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a few things that probably got to get buttoned down, and I think that there's probably a few people that got to stop listening to, because it can't be one person's comedy show when you're trying to put on a big old wrestling show. And this week was just a mess, is all it was. So hopefully next week we'll get some cool stuff. NXT was pretty fucking rad. We'll see where this Dusty Cup goes, though. Anything you guys want to throw in there?
No. But question, though, since we're talking about New Japan. So this whole thing that we've been seeing, like the Good Brothers, and Kenny was wearing Bullet Club merchandise or whatever. Do you think it's foreshadowing some kind of partnership
with NJPW? I wondered if they were going to just build a Bullet Club versus an Elite thing, so it's kind of like Wolfpack and regular NWO. That was more the feeling I got. The Impact was going to have the Bullet Club, and AEW was going to have the Elite.
Well, it's weird because that's all, New Japan trademark and all of that. And then you've got the real Bullet Club. But that's what's been throwing me for a loop with this whole thing and with Kenny, and I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I could do without the Invisible Hand. Is that his nickname, Don Callis, the Invisible Hand? I could do without that. I can do without that.
And he's super visible. And Tony Khan's an on-screen talent now, so we'll see how that works.
Oh, no, he needs to go. He needs to stop.
He's not comfortable out there yet.
No, and Shivani should not encourage that. So stop doing those stupid paid advertisement things. Yeah, because it's just making you look like an ass. It's not doing anything for you.
Klump, do you think the Bullet Club stuff's a hint that NJPW might get involved? I think I'd be pretty excited if they did, actually.
I would be excited if they did. I would hope so. But it's not, you can't just have the promotion get involved to make it good. You got to make it good. And that to me hasn't been really seen.
Yeah.
Like it still feels rather half-assed.
That makes sense. It's just kind of going in there. I get it. I hear you. Guys, enter a raffle. Join the raffle if you want to win up to 2 t-shirts and a wrestling pin of the Rattlesnake. I believe it looks a lot like a bald-headed guy wearing a vest. Just let us know. Let us know you won in the raffle. You'll get 2 numbers, one for the men's Rumble, one for the women's Royal Rumble. And if the entrant that is the number associated with yours is the winner, then you win one of them things. If you're in the chat at TW Takes Podcast during the Rumble, he will be giving away the pin to somebody who's actively in the chat. Splinter Fox, I know you like to actively chat. If you don't have the WWE Network, you can still come in and... what do they call it? Filibuster? You could filibuster that chat even if you're not even watching, dude. It'd be funny. Troll us. We like everyone coming through.
WWE Network.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah, we'll troll TW takes. We'll host it on our channel too. Just
I
gotta let
will.
us know if you want to be in the raffle. You can hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find TW Takes Podcast on the same platforms as well. The Royal Rumble watch along is next Sunday. Justin Time is going to be there. He says it's going to be a blast because they all are, and that's true. It's fun doing the watch alongs and hanging out with Bishop and just having a good time. It's going to be me, Bishop, and Kev so far as we know. Klump, do you plan on watching the Royal Rumble live?
I'll try and get some, but I am working.
You're gonna be doing some stuff, yeah. I thought so too. That's the only reason why I didn't like make a graphic or try to pressure you to try to do it. I had a feeling you had that stuff going on. But thank you, Amanda, for coming through. Thank you guys for listening. Give us that follow, that subscribe, the likes, the drinks, the subs, all of them things, and let us know if you want to be in that raffle. And if you just even know people who want like a fucking t-shirt or a pin, tell them to just join the raffle. It's free. It's one of our shirts. We'll tell you we got 4 designs. You can pick whichever one you want of those 4, specifically us, Wrestling on the Rocks. Guys, I think that's last call. Klump, is that last call?
That's last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.